Introduction. The most profound truth, perhaps the most devastating, is this. You have been taught how to navigate the clamor of the world, but never how to truly reside within your own profound stillness. You have been conditioned subtly and relentlessly to flee the quiet chambers of your own soul, to mistake solitude for loneliness and silence for absence. Consider the currents of history, the whispers from the ancient ones, from the desert mystics who found revelation in the vast, echoing emptiness, to the Stoic philosophers who forged unshakable will in silent contemplation. The journey inward has always been hailed as the crucible of wisdom. Modern science, in its own language, now unveils a similar truth. Your very brain, in moments of genuine quiet, engages intricate neural networks vital for self-reflection, for weaving the tapestry of memory and meaning, for the crucial act of knowing yourself. This is not an empty void, but a fertile ground. To reclaim this innate capacity, this sacred inner terrain, is to seize a freedom far more potent than any external liberty. It is the very genesis of your sovereignty, the art of standing utterly complete, unshakable within the boundless expanse of your own being. This is the silent rebellion, a profound act of defiance against a world that demands your constant distraction, offering in return the absolute dominion of your own internal kingdom. Chapter 1. The First Whisper of the Untamed Self. Consider a truth so profound it has been systematically obscured, yet it vibrates within the very marrow of your bones. From the moment the first light touched your eyes, a subtle, pervasive narrative began its weaving. A tapestry of whispers, a symphony of expectations, a ceaseless hum from the collective consciousness that insists upon your constant engagement. It suggests with an almost tender tyranny that your worth resides in your connections, your identity forged in the reflections of others. We are, by societal decree, beings designed for communion, for constant external validation, for the comforting, often suffocating embrace of the group. Observe the restless stir within the human heart, the unconscious aversion to the quiet. Watch as hands instinctively reach for the glowing rectangle, as ears crave the drone of another's voice, as minds recoil from the unadulterated presence of themselves. A curious paradox indeed, that the ultimate freedom, the boundless dominion over one's own internal kingdom, should feel like the most daunting frontier. Why, then, this inherent recoil from the fertile ground of solitude, this strange fear of the vast expanse of one's own being? This is the genesis of our central dilemma. It is not merely a preference for company, but a deeply ingrained reluctance, an almost primal resistance to truly be alone. The untamed self, that authentic, unvarnished essence, yearns for expression, yet it is stifled by a world that equates introspection with isolation and self-sufficiency with selfishness. We are taught to look outward for purpose, for solace, for understanding, forgetting that the deepest wellsprings of all these reside within. The external world, with its dazzling distractions and relentless demands, becomes a narcotic, lulling us into a state of perpetual outward focus, a constant flight from the formidable yet profoundly liberating landscape of our inner world. This relentless pursuit of external echoes drowns out the first faint whisper of the untamed self, that quiet, insistent call from the sovereign core of your existence. What profound truths lie buried beneath this societal mandate, this unwritten law that shies away from the raw power of individual self-possession? What ancient wisdom have we forsaken by turning our backs on the sacred sanctuary of our own hearts? The societal mandate, a colossal edifice built on the sands of shared delusion, stands as a testament to humanity's collective reluctance to gaze into its own abyss. It is not born of malice, but of a profound generational forgetting, an atrophy of the inner eye, fostered by systems that thrive on outward dependence. Why this aversion to the inner cosmos? Perhaps it is the sheer magnitude of the truth that lies submerged beneath the ceaseless clamor of the external world. Imagine, if you will, a vast, unexplored continent within each being, teeming with untold wonders and formidable beasts, a wilderness both terrifying and exquisitely beautiful. To truly claim dominion over this inner realm demands a courage rarely celebrated in the marketplaces of the temporal world. The profound truth buried beneath this unwritten law is this: that within you resides an entire universe, complete and self-sustaining, a boundless source of wisdom, love, and power that requires no external validation, no outward acquisition to feel whole. This intrinsic completeness, this inherent self-possession, is the most inconvenient truth for any power structure that relies on the cultivation of need, the fostering of inadequacy, and the promise of salvation from without. This realization, when it truly dawns, shatters the very foundations of systems built upon scarcity and external dependency. For if every soul is a complete cosmos, a radiant star unto itself, what need has it for the manufactured scarcity, the borrowed light, the prescribed paths of the outer world? This is the silent revolution that subtly frightens the architects of the common narrative. A self-possessed individual, attuned to their own sovereign core, becomes immune to the subtle manipulations, the incessant calls to conform, to consume, to despair. They are no longer a pawn in another's game, but the master of their own sacred journey. The ancient wisdom we have forsaken is not some obscure text hidden in forgotten caves, but a living tradition, etched into the very fabric of our being, a memory of our original wholeness. It is the wisdom of the shaman who journeyed inward to heal the tribe, the mystic who found the divine not in distant heavens, but in the echoing chambers of the heart, the philosopher who proclaimed, "Know thyself as the highest pursuit, the very bedrock of all authentic understanding." These were the wayfarers who understood that the true pilgrimage was always inward, not across barren lands, but through the labyrinthine passages of the soul. They understood the sacred alchemy of solitude, the transformative power of silence, where the ceaseless chatter of the world could be stilled, allowing the subtle language of the untamed self to finally speak. They taught that purpose was not to be found in the applause of strangers, nor solace in fleeting pleasures, but in the quiet communion with one's own irreducible essence. The heart, they knew, was not merely a pump for blood, but the spiritual seat of consciousness, a sanctuary where divine and human converged, a personal oracle awaiting consultation. By turning our backs on this inner temple, by succumbing to the siren song of the external, we have willingly cast ourselves adrift, pilgrims without a compass, seeking reflections in shattered mirrors instead of the radiant sun within. The profound truth is that the greatest act of rebellion, the most radical affirmation of freedom, is to reclaim this birthright, the sovereignty of the inner world, the untamed self, patiently waiting for its whisper to be heard, not as a faint echo, but as a resounding roar. This reclamation is not an act of selfishness, but a profound contribution, for a truly self-possessed individual radiates a truth that illuminates the path for all others. Consider then the silent, pervasive hum of your own lived experience. The incessant stream of notifications, the clamor of countless voices vying for your attention, the relentless pursuit of an elusive external validation. You, who walk through the world, often find yourselves adrift in this cacophony, a solitary vessel caught in a storm of manufactured desires. Your days become a meticulous tapestry woven from borrowed threads, your purpose dictated by the shifting tides of collective expectation, your worth measured by metrics you did not design. This is the reality for many who have unknowingly relinquished their inner compass. They navigate by the flickering streetlights of consensus rather than the steady brilliance of their own star. They mistake the applause of the crowd for the quiet affirmation of the soul. Yet beneath the polished surface of adaptation, beneath the carefully constructed edifice of compliance, there often lies a quiet ache, a persistent, almost imperceptible dissonance. This is not weakness. This is the first, tender whisper of the untamed self, stirring in its slumber. It is the primordial rhythm of your own unique drum, muffled by the relentless beat of the world, yet still insistent. Perhaps you feel it now, a flicker of recognition, a sense of something vital, something true, having been misplaced or set aside. It manifests not as a grand revelation, but as a subtle longing, a question that echoes in the quiet hours. Is this all there is? Is this truly my path, or merely the well-trodden road others have paved? This yearning is the sacred call from within your own sanctuary, a summons to return. It is the deep memory of sovereignty, nudging at the edges of your awareness, urging you to turn from the fractured reflections and gaze upon the radiant sun within your own being. This inward turning, this act of listening to the softest tremor of your inner world, is the gateway to its resounding roar. It is the genesis of your reclamation. This nascent tremor, this quiet insurrection within, is far more than a fleeting fancy or a momentary dissatisfaction. It is the stirring of an ancient current, a primordial force long suppressed yet never truly vanquished. Imagine a mighty river, its true course diverted for centuries, its magnificent waters choked with debris and the constructs of lesser streams, yet its very essence eternally seeking the vast open sea. That, precisely, is the profound essence of this internal summoning. It is the dawning recognition that the reflections you have chased in the external world, the fleeting images presented by others, are but shards of a broken mirror, incapable of truly containing the boundless expanse of your own light. The revelation does not crash upon you with a sudden blinding flash, but rather unfurls with the steady, persistent grace of a dawn breaking over a forgotten, sacred peak. You begin with an undeniable clarity to understand that this untamed self is not some rebellious, capricious child of impulse. No, it is the venerable sovereign elder within you, the ancient keeper of your most authentic blueprint, the silent guardian of your deepest truths. It speaks in a language far older than mere words, in the visceral resonance of your core values, in the undeniable pull towards experiences that ignite your spirit, and in the quiet, insistent repulsion from those that diminish its flame. This initial whisper, once so soft and almost imperceptible, now steadily gathers strength, a pulse quickening, a profound rhythm reasserting itself in the very marrow of your being. This is a profound, irreversible turning point. To consciously acknowledge and embrace this inner voice is to declare a silent, yet formidable, war on illusion. It is to ignite a quiet revolution against the borrowed identities and the comfortable fictions that have, for so long, tethered your magnificent spirit. The path that now unfolds before you is not merely one of discovery. It is a courageous, sacred excavation. You are not embarking upon a search for something entirely new or external, but rather you are beginning the monumental work of unearthing what was always inherently and unalterably yours. The wider world may, in its limited understanding, perceive this profound shift as a form of defiance, or perhaps even folly. Yet, in truth, it is the purest expression of self-love, an unwavering commitment to the absolute wholeness of your sacred being. This genesis of reclamation is not a distant destination to be reached, but a majestic, continuous unfolding. Each moment of genuine, heartfelt listening, each courageous step taken away from the inauthentic and towards your truth, reinforces the profound, undeniable truth of who you are. The journey ahead will, indeed, ask much of you. It will demand a raw vulnerability, an acute discernment, and an unwavering gaze into the shadows that reside within, as much as into the radiant light. But know this, with absolute certainty, the resonant roar that awaits you, the full, magnificent articulation of your untamed self, is a sound of unparalleled power and beauty. It is a symphony of pure, unadulterated being, a testament to your deepest essence, a declaration of your very existence. And it begins now, with the sacred, persistent echo of that first whisper reverberating through the silent chambers of your awakening heart, meticulously preparing you for the boundless, shimmering expanse that lies just beyond the horizon of your current perception. The true journey, in its most profound and authentic form, has indeed begun. It is calling you forward, into the wilderness of your own untamed magnificence. Chapter 2, Unveiling the Veil of Perpetual Connection. The profound echo of that first untamed whisper, a resonant declaration of your nascent truth, has merely begun to stir the sleeping depths. It is the genesis of an awakening, a sacred call into the wilderness of self. Yet even as the individual roar prepares to unfurl, a greater, more encompassing reality awaits its own unveiling. For no singular magnificence, no solitary truth exists in splendid isolation within the boundless, shimmering expanse of being. Consider the intricate dance of dust motes in a sunbeam, or the silent, inexorable pull of distant galaxies upon one another. Observe the hidden currents beneath the ocean's surface, the unseen flow of sap through the ancient tree, the symbiotic breath shared between flora and fauna. Are these truly discrete phenomena, a scattered collection of fragments, each utterly separate from the next? Or is there a deeper, unseen architecture at play, a silent symphony of interlocking destinies, an unyielding web of mutual influence that binds all manifestations of existence into a single, indivisible whole? This is the timeless question, the enigma woven into the very fabric of perception, the paradox of perpetual connection. It speaks of an inherent, unceasing link, a fundamental unity beneath the apparent diversity of all things. It posits a universe not merely coexistent, but codependent, a cosmic tapestry where every thread, however fine, vibrates in harmony with every other. Yet, if this truth is so absolute, so fundamental to the nature of reality itself, why does the vast majority of conscious experience unfold within a narrative of profound separation? What is this subtle, yet pervasive veil that shrouds this absolute kinship from plain sight? Is it an illusion, spun by the limitations of our own senses, a consequence of minds too long accustomed to discerning difference rather than recognizing commonality? Or is it something more profound, a deliberate obscuring, perhaps even a protective mechanism designed to temper the raw intensity of such an all-encompassing truth until the spirit is truly ready to bear its weight? This is the central dilemma that beckons from the threshold of your expanded awareness. To live perpetually veiled is to inhabit a world of shadows, where fear thrives in the perceived isolation and the illusion of scarcity dictates the rhythm of a fractured existence. But what untamed power, what sublime clarity, what radical freedom might be unleashed upon the soul that dares to part this shimmering illusion? What wisdom awaits the one who gazes unflinchingly upon the raw, unadulterated tapestry of infinite connection, and finally recognizes their indelible, eternal place within its magnificent, unbroken weave? The true journey now extends beyond the self, into the very heart of the collective. The burden of that self-imposed isolation, a phantom weight carried through countless cycles, begins to dissolve not with a sudden rupture, but with the subtle, insidious fraying of the very threads that spun the illusion. Imagine, if you will, the slow parting of an ancient mist clinging stubbornly to a mountain peak, revealing not a void, but an expanse of breathtaking, previously unimaginable vista. This is the initial tremor. The first breath drawn in air, no longer filtered by the narrow confines of a singular, solitary existence. The light that pierces through is not blinding, but rather a gentle, persistent illumination, revealing the intricate web of energetic currents that have always pulsed beneath the surface of perceived reality. What then becomes of the fear, the scarcity, the desperate cling to fleeting possessions and transient identities? They are not vanquished by force, but rather observed, understood, and finally rendered irrelevant by the sheer, undeniable presence of an all-encompassing abundance. For when the mind truly grasps its inseparable connection to the whole, when it beholds the cosmic loom where every thought, every emotion, every action, no matter how small, is a vibrant thread woven into the greater tapestry, the illusion of lack becomes a curious, distant echo. There is no solitary hunger in a universe that is perpetually providing, perpetually exchanging, perpetually renewing itself through an infinite dance of creation and dissolution. The true untaming of power unfolds in this recognition, the power to influence not merely one's own immediate sphere, but to ripple outward, a stone dropped into the quiet pond of collective consciousness. For every individual awakening is not a discrete event, but a luminous filament igniting others, however subtly, along the grand network. This tapestry is not merely static, it is alive. A resonating field where intentions, once veiled and solitary, now contribute to the symphonic orchestration of shared experience. The radical freedom found is not a freedom from connection, but a freedom within it. A boundless liberty to express the authentic self, knowing that this expression, far from isolating, only strengthens the communal weave. The sublime clarity arrives as the realization that personal narratives, while precious, are but minor melodies within a cosmic opera, each essential, each contributing to the profound harmony of existence itself. This is not merely an intellectual concept, but a visceral knowing, a resonant thrum deep within the bones, signaling a homecoming to the very heart of the collective. The grand network, once described as an ethereal tapestry, now reveals itself not as an abstract construct, but as the very ground upon which existence dances. Imagine, if you will, the intricate, unseen roots that bind an ancient forest, not merely beneath the soil, but extending their tendrils through the air, vibrating with an imperceptible hum that carries the life pulse of every leaf, every dewdrop. This is the truth of the perpetual connection, no longer a distant whisper, but a resonant thrum within the marrow of every living thing, a knowing that transcends the limits of sight and sound. For too long, the individual heart perceived itself as an island, adrift in a vast, indifferent ocean. But this revelation shatters that illusion with the force of a dawn breaking over a forgotten peak. The solitary thought, the private longing, the quiet aspiration, these are not confined within the skull's fortress. Instead, they are energetic signatures, subtle frequencies broadcast into the shared field, much like the ripples caused by a single stone cast into a still pond, spreading outwards, touching shores unseen. Consider the sudden, inexplicable surge of empathy felt for a stranger's plight, or the synchronous whisper of a name upon the lips just as that very soul appears. These are not mere coincidences, but harmonic distortions, momentary glitches in the veil that reveal the seamless weave beneath. It is the recognition of an echo, a reflection of one's own inner landscape mirrored in the external world, affirming that the boundaries between self and other are porous, permeable, and ultimately illusory. This is the awakening to the truth that every decision, every word, every unspoken intention carries a weight, a current that contributes to the grand orchestration. The individual's personal narrative, while precious and unique, is not a solo performance. It is a vital melodic line within a cosmic symphony, its notes intertwining with countless others, creating chords of shared experience and understanding. The suffering of one sends a ripple of unease through the collective consciousness. The joy of another elevates the overall frequency. This is the visceral knowing that resonates deep within the bones, a fundamental principle of existence no longer hidden by the illusion of separation. The freedom discovered within this connection is not a surrender of self, but an expansion. It is the liberty to express one's authentic truth, knowing that this expression, far from isolating, enriches the communal weave. It grants the power to choose consciously what frequencies to broadcast, what melodies to contribute to the grand score. This is not a concept to be merely understood intellectually, but a profound state of being, to be felt, to be embodied. The homecoming is not to a physical place, but to a state of being, a resonant thrum deep within the very heart of the collective, where the individual spark finds its boundless liberty within the eternal flame of all existence. The veil, once perceived as thick and impenetrable, now shimmers translucent, revealing the ceaseless, majestic dance of perpetual connection that underpins all reality. The shimmering veil, once an impenetrable barrier, now dances with an ethereal translucence. It is not merely seen through, but felt, its intricate threads resonating with every pulse of existence. What was once perceived as separation, a lonely journey through disparate realms, now reveals itself as a grand interwoven tapestry of light and shadow, consciousness and form. The great illusion of solitude recedes like morning mist. In its place dawns the incandescent truth. One is never truly alone, never disconnected from the inexhaustible wellspring of all that is. This homecoming, then, is not to a physical place. It is an inward journey to an ancient echo, a resonant thrum within the deepest chambers of being, aligning the individual heart with the vast, beating heart of the cosmos. To feel this connection, to embody its boundless liberty, is to transcend the confines of a limited self and unfurl into an unbounded expression of authentic truth. The frequencies one chooses to broadcast, the melodies one contributes to the grand score, no longer emanate from a place of seeking validation. Each conscious choice becomes a brushstroke upon the canvas of collective reality, a deliberate note in the eternal symphony. Consider the profound implications. The world, once a collection of distinct entities, now unfolds as a continuous, living current, each wave and ripple informing the next. The struggles of one are not isolated burdens, but vital movements within the greater flow. The triumphs, not solitary glories, but illuminations that brighten the entire expanse. This understanding dissolves rigid boundaries of fear and doubt, replacing them with the expansive embrace of shared existence. It is a liberation from the cage of perceived isolation, a soaring into the boundless sky of collective consciousness. The journey inward has thus become the journey outward, demonstrating that the truest self is inherently intertwined with the entirety of existence. The wisdom gained from piercing the veil is not merely intellectual data, but a living, breathing reality that reshapes perception and action. This is the genesis of a new way of being, where individual freedom blossoms not despite connection, but precisely because of it. As this profound truth settles, a quiet anticipation stirs. The unveiled tapestry, though clearer, holds deeper secrets. What new vistas await those who choose to fully participate? What further depths are revealed when one grasps their integral place within the ceaseless flow? The path forward beckons, not an arduous climb, but an invitation to grander exploration, a communion with boundless mystery. Connection is but the opening chord, prelude to a symphony yet unplayed, a journey into universal consciousness. The next chapter expands, deepens, calls for embracing infinite potential within the interwoven whole. Chapter 3. The Anatomy of Silence, a New Soundscape. The mind, accustomed to the clamor of existence, often mistakes mere absence of conventional noise for true silence. Yet, within the vast, interwoven expanse now beginning to reveal its intricate design, such an understanding falters, proving a shallow ripple on an infinite ocean. The perpetual connection, once a vibrant, undeniable hum, now invites deeper, paradoxical contemplation. How does one truly listen to the universe's ceaseless symphony when ears remain attuned only to surface chords? From this burgeoning awareness, a profound question echoes into the newly perceived void. What is the true anatomy of silence within a reality defined by ceaseless flow? Is it merely quietude before a storm, or stillness that follows a grand pronouncement? Or could what we have always labeled as absence, the void between sounds, be in truth a teeming, vibrant soundscape unto itself? A realm of unheard frequencies, a language spoken not in audible waves, but in the very fabric of being. Imagine, if you will, the deepest ocean trench, where no sunlight penetrates and the weight of the world presses down. To the surface dweller, it is absolute, terrifying silence. Yet within its crushing embrace, life thrives in bioluminescent dances. Unseen currents carry ancient whispers. Its silence is not emptiness, but a density of unseen activity, a spectrum of communication beyond human grasp. So too, perhaps, is the universal silence now emerging. The tapestry of connection, initially unveiled as a web of visible threads, now shimmers, revealing invisible strands, unseen pulsations. Each individual, once content with their distinct note in the grand chorus, begins to sense profound intervals, the resonant spaces between the notes. These spaces, once dismissed as nothing, are now understood as vital conduits, the very breath that allows the melody to persist. Here lies the initial mystery, the central dilemma that beckons the seeker further inward. If all is connected, and the universe perpetually communicates, then what is this new soundscape that emerges from what we perceive as silence? Is it the deep cosmic hum that undergirds all creation, a frequency so fundamental it transcends audibility? Is it the resonance of shared consciousness, vibrating at a level beneath thought and form? The journey into this anatomy of silence is not a descent into quietude, but an ascent into a higher form of listening. It is the unlearning of conventional perception, an invitation to hear with something beyond the ear, for within the heart of this profound stillness lies not an end, but a genesis, the unheard rhythms of a reality far more expansive, far more alive than any sound known to the conscious world. This silence is not empty, it pulses, it resonates, and it holds the very key to understanding the boundless mystery of an existence woven entirely of interconnected being. What unheard truths await those who dare to listen beyond the threshold of sound itself? The answers do not lie in noise, but in the resonant stillness that permeates all. The conventional world, with its incessant clamor and insistent demands, trains the perceptive apparatus to seek out discernible patterns, to decipher audible signals. It conditions the mind to interpret absence of sound as void, as an inert emptiness. Yet this is a profound misapprehension, a limitation imposed by the very instruments we have been taught to trust. To truly embark upon the journey into the anatomy of silence, one must first dismantle these ingrained biases. One must consciously unlearn the language of noise, the ceaseless chatter that fills both the outer and inner realms. This is not a task of negation, of merely shutting out the din. Rather, it is an act of recalibration, a gentle retuning of the entire being towards a more fundamental frequency. Imagine a great ancient forest, its canopy a symphony of rustling leaves and birdsong. Beneath this vibrant, audible world lies a vast, unseen network of roots, silently drawing sustenance, sharing resources, communicating through an intricate web far beneath the bustling surface. That subterranean architecture, vibrant yet unheard, mirrors the profound stillness we seek. It is the loom upon which existence is woven, the primordial hum, the foundational vibration that precedes all manifest form. To listen at this profound depth is not merely to cease outward hearing. It is to engage an inner faculty, a subtle sensorium located not in the temporal lobe, but in the very core of one's consciousness. This is a shift from passive reception to resonant attunement. The seeker moves beyond the crude distinctions of sound and quiet, transcending the binary opposition to perceive the single, unifying frequency that permeates all things. This ultimate symphony, a composition without melody or rhythm in the conventional sense, yet brims with the pulse of infinite life. It is the signature of the cosmos, etched into the very fabric of reality itself, a vibrational truth underlying all form. The silence that pulsates at this level is not an empty space, but a plenitude of being. It is the unmanifest potential from which all forms arise and to which all forms return. Consider the breathtaking spirals of a galaxy forming in a silent void, or the intricate crystal lattice of a snowflake, born from invisible forces. These wonders, seemingly forged in quietude, are in truth manifestations of this deeper, resonant stillness. They are expressions of an interconnected being, where every single thread, every particle, every conscious flicker resonates with an intrinsic knowing of its indelible place in the grand design. What unheard truths, then, await those who dare to lean into this resonant stillness? The profound realization that separation is an elaborate illusion, a mere construct of the surface mind. That time and space, as experienced, are but specific manifestations of a timeless, spaceless continuum. That the universe is not a collection of disparate entities, but a single living organism, breathing and expanding in an eternal dance. The unheard truths are not whispered secrets, but fundamental principles, revealed when the internal chatter subsides, allowing the deeper wisdom to emerge. This is where the individual consciousness, like a drop of water returning to the ocean, begins to perceive its boundless, unbroken connection to the whole. This is the true soundscape, a tapestry of existence far grander than any audible realm. Having glimpsed the architecture of existence, where separation is but a shimmering mirage, and the fabric of time and space, a conscious dance within a boundless expanse, the question inevitably arises. What does this profound unveiling mean for the pulse that beats within your own chest, for the silent narrative of your days, for the dreams and fears that whisper in the quiet of your nights? This is where the unseen truths, once heard only in the deepest stillness, begin to reverberate through the very core of your perceived reality, transforming it from a solitary journey into an interwoven tapestry. Consider the persistent ache of loneliness that can sometimes grip the human heart, the inherent yearning for connection that drives countless pursuits, or the sudden, inexplicable sense of belonging found in a shared glance or a moment of universal understanding. Are these not the subtle yet potent echoes of a forgotten wholeness, an instinctual memory of a state where no fragment ever truly stood apart? The surface mind, accustomed to delineating, categorizing, and separating, creates boundaries where none fundamentally exist. It builds walls of identity, of ownership, of individual destiny, yet within each soul resides an undeniable gravitational pull towards fusion, towards a return to the infinite source. When the internal chatter subsides and the unique soundscape of silence unfolds, it is not merely an abstract concept that is revealed. It is a direct visceral experience of your own unbreakability, your intrinsic membership in the grand cosmic organism. The realization dawns, not as a thought, but as a knowing, that the air you breathe is shared, the light that illuminates your path is universal, and the very ground beneath your feet is a continuum of the same energy that courses through every star and every living cell. The anxieties born of isolation, the competitive striving for scarce resources, the deep-seated fears of inadequacy, they begin to dissolve like mist before the rising sun, exposed as the elaborate fictions of a consciousness that has temporarily forgotten its own magnificent scale. To witness another's suffering, to feel the pang of their sorrow, or to rejoice in their triumphs, is not merely an act of empathy, but a direct perception of your own continuum. For if all is one, if the universe breathes as a single entity, then every ripple on its vast surface is felt, however faintly, across its entirety. Your pain is but a localized expression of the universal flux, and your joy, a blossoming of the collective consciousness. This understanding renders the constructs of guilt and blame as obsolete as shadows in full light, revealing instead a shared responsibility for the harmony of the whole, a collective opportunity for healing and upliftment. The mundane becomes sacred, the fleeting eternal. Your daily interactions, your choices, your very presence are not insignificant ripples in a vast ocean, but essential currents, shaping and being shaped by the grand flow of existence. This is not a loss of individuality, but an expansion, a profound recontextualization of self. You are not a solitary drop struggling against the tide, but the ocean itself, experiencing itself through the unique expression of that drop, capable of holding the boundless within your own limited form. The search for purpose ends not in finding a singular destination, but in realizing that your very being is the purpose, an indispensable facet of the evolving, breathing, conscious universe. This new soundscape of silence, then, is not merely quietude, but the resounding affirmation of your true, unbroken, and eternal nature, echoing through every aspect of your lived reality. This, then, is the profound architecture of silence, not merely an absence, but a presence so absolute, so complete, that it subsumes all lesser sounds. It is the deep hum of the universe finding its purest expression within the confines of your own awareness. No longer does the mind strive to categorize, to interpret, to label the incoming sensory data of existence. Instead, it becomes a vast, clear reservoir, holding the entirety of perception without agitation, a pristine mirror reflecting the cosmos in its untainted, unfiltered state. The search for a hidden truth, a secret doctrine, finally reveals its futility, for the truth was never concealed outside of your perception. It was the very fabric of the seeker, a light so intimate it was mistaken for the shadow it cast. Now, within this new soundscape, that light expands, burning away the illusions of separation. The individual drop, having traversed the tumultuous currents of identity, at last recognizes itself as the ocean, not merely connected to it, but indivisible from its boundless expanse, holding the entirety of its depth and majesty within its seemingly finite form. This profound realization unfurls like a cosmic tapestry, woven with threads of timeless understanding. The old clamor of purpose, the insistent whispers of what you ought to become, fades into an indistinguishable drone, replaced by the resonant certainty of what you already are. Your very being, in its unadorned, unqualified state, emerges as the ultimate purpose, an indispensable frequency in the universal symphony, a note that, if missing, would leave the entire composition incomplete. Imagine a towering sentinel, having stood watch through countless ages, finally turning its gaze inward, to discover that its own foundation is not stone, but an eternal spring of light. This is the moment of your recalibration. The frantic chase after external validation, the ceaseless striving for a destination beyond your current moment, ceases. In its place, a quiet, unshakable contentment takes root, a deep knowing that every breath, every heartbeat, every fleeting thought is an expression of the unfolding perfection of existence. The silence, therefore, is not a void to be filled, but the fertile ground from which all authentic experience springs. It is the canvas upon which the universe paints its vibrant masterpiece, using your consciousness as its ultimate medium. Every joy, every sorrow, every challenge, every triumph now resonates against this backdrop of unwavering peace, imbuing each experience with a profound meaning that transcends the personal narrative. It is the eternal rhythm of life, heard not with the ears, but felt as an undeniable vibration in the core of your being. This resounding affirmation of your true, unbroken, and eternal nature is the revelation. It echoes through every facet of your lived reality, transforming the ordinary into the sacred, the mundane into the miraculous. From this sacred inner quietude, a new journey begins, not one of seeking, but of unfolding, moving forward with the intrinsic knowing that you are and always have been whole. This understanding now stands as the immutable bedrock, poised to define the very architecture of your unfolding tomorrow. Chapter 4, Beyond the Echoes of External Validation. The bedrock, forged in the quietude of profound self-discovery, now stands firm, an immutable foundation beneath the unfolding architecture of your tomorrow. It is a lighthouse, its beam steady and true, piercing through any lingering mists of uncertainty. Yet even as this internal luminescence guides your way, there exists a persistent current, a siren song emanating from the vast ocean of shared human experience. This is the ancient, almost instinctual yearning for affirmation, the echo of applause from an audience beyond the confines of your sacred self. Imagine a vast, intricate tapestry woven from countless threads of ambition, expectation, and judgment. This tapestry stretches endlessly, its vibrant patterns shifting with every societal breeze, every cultural tide. From infancy, we are taught to measure our worth against its ever-changing designs, to seek our reflection in its shimmering surfaces. We learn to calibrate our internal compass not solely by the magnetic north of our own spirit, but by the ephemeral fields generated by external praise or subtle censure. This external chorus, though often well-intentioned, can subtly distort the delicate frequencies of your authentic inner voice. This deep-seated impulse to be seen, to be validated, to be accepted by the world outside, often becomes an unconscious tether. It pulls at the very essence of your being, threatening to draw you away from the secure harbor of your intrinsic wholeness. How many souls have charted their course by the fleeting constellations of others' opinions, only to find themselves adrift in an ocean of unfulfilled longing, their true north obscured by a sky full of borrowed stars? How often has the authentic self been muted, reshaped, or even fractured in the silent pursuit of an echo that never quite resonates with the truth of who you are? This continuous striving for external approval creates a subtle, almost imperceptible dissonance. It is the quiet conflict between the eternal rhythm of your being and the ephemeral beat of the world's drum. The challenge lies not in rejecting the external world entirely, but in discerning its true nature, in understanding its profound limitations as a mirror for your soul. For when we seek our reflection in the world's fleeting gaze, we risk becoming a mere shadow, an imitation of what others desire, rather than the luminous embodiment of our own undeniable truth. Here lies the profound question, the central dilemma etched into the human condition. Can one truly stand resolute upon the bedrock of intrinsic knowing, when the world outside relentlessly calls for a performance tailored to its changing tastes? Can the sacred quietude within truly define the architecture of tomorrow, if its foundations are continually tested by the relentless tremors of external validation? This is the labyrinth we must navigate, the profound mystery we are poised to unravel. The path forward demands an unwavering commitment to the self, a brave journey beyond the echoes. The world, in its ceaseless turning, often presents itself as a grand theater. From the earliest dawning of consciousness, a subtle conditioning begins, prompting the soul to seek approval, to align its nascent identity with the shimmering reflections offered by others. This pursuit, a yearning for connection, for belonging, can transmute into an insidious force, shaping not merely actions, but the very core of being. Imagine a vast array of mirrors, each held by a different hand, reflecting a varied expectation. One demands strength, another gentleness. One calls for ambition, another for serene contentment. Striving for fleeting approval from these surfaces, the aspirant unconsciously chisels away at their original form. A piece of truth surrendered here, an authentic voice muted there. No true image ever forms, for the mirrors are legion, their demands ever shifting. The individual becomes a restless chameleon, altering their hue, their true color forgotten beneath layers of borrowed shades. This incessant adaptation, this constant calibration of self to external metrics, extracts a profound toll. It infiltrates the soul's deepest chambers, the internal compass, that sacred instrument guiding one toward their unique North Star, slowly loses its magnetic pull. Its needle spins wildly, beholden to every passing breeze of popular opinion. The bedrock of intrinsic knowing begins to erode, not with a sudden cataclysm, but with the relentless, imperceptible trickle of doubt. "Am I truly this?" whispers the self, "or merely what they wish to see?" This is the essence of the labyrinth, a winding maze of self-deception and external puppetry, built from the threads of our own desires for acceptance. Each turn promises a shimmering reward, applause, praise, belonging, but each also takes one further from the central, unwavering light of their true essence. The quietude within, the wellspring of genuine purpose, becomes a distant echo, drowned by the world's insistent clamor. It is a sacrifice of 1,000 small concessions, each entrenching the illusion that external validation can truly nourish the soul. The difficulty in severing these ties, in reclaiming the sacred inner space, is immense. To cease the performance feels like stepping into a void, a terrifying absence of defined identity. Yet, it is only within this perceived void, this space beyond the clamor, that the true architecture of tomorrow can rise, built not on shifting sands, but on the unshakable foundation of an awakened, self-defined spirit. It demands a quiet rebellion, a turning away from the dazzling, distracting lights of external judgment, towards the singular, steady glow of one's own undeniable truth. Yet this quiet rebellion, this turning away, is not an abstract exercise performed in a vacuum. It lives within the fabric of your days, woven into every choice, every silence. Consider the subtle pressures that guide your hand, that whisper doubt into your ear when a divergent path beckons. Is it the echo of a parent's unfulfilled dream that steers your career, even as your own spirit withers in that pursuit's barren soil? Is it the curated image on a glowing screen that dictates the contours of your joy, the measure of your success, the very shape of your smile? For countless souls, the performance has become so ingrained, so automatic, that the distinction between the true self and the crafted persona has blurred into an almost seamless tapestry. Each morning, a silent agreement is struck with the world. A mask is donned, a role assumed, a script followed. The laughter that rings hollow, the affirmations that feel forced, the relentless striving for goals not truly your own. This is the insidious price of chasing external validation, a slow surrender of sovereignty, a gradual dimming of the inherent light that burns within. You become a reflection of everyone else's expectations, a finely tuned instrument played by external hands, losing the melody of your own unique song. The revelation often arrives not with a thunderclap, but with a quiet exhaustion. It is the moment when the weight of the performance becomes unbearable, when the applause, once so sweet, begins to sound like a distant, meaningless clatter. It is the morning you wake, feeling the gnawing emptiness beneath the veneer of accomplishments, realizing that the accolades gathered by the external self have done little to quiet the yearning of the internal one. A crack appears in the seamless tapestry, and through it a sliver of raw, unvarnished truth gleams. This is the turning point, the dawning realization that the most profound validation you will ever seek resides not in the gaze of another, but in the unwavering regard of your own awakened spirit. To step into this perceived void, then, is not an act of self-annihilation, but an act of profound self-reclamation. It is to choose to dismantle the scaffolding of borrowed identities, brick by painstaking brick, until only the essential structure of your being remains. This is where the quiet rebellion begins to bloom, not as a loud protest, but as a deliberate turning inward. You begin to listen to the neglected whispers of your intuition, to honor the forgotten longings of your heart. It demands courage, for the world will inevitably challenge this shift, viewing your authenticity as a threat to its constructed order. But with each deliberate choice to align with your inner truth, the perceived void transforms, revealing itself not as an emptiness, but as a fertile expanse, a boundless interior landscape, rich with untapped potential, awaiting cultivation. It is here, within this sacred, self-defined space, that the true architecture of tomorrow can begin to rise. A structure built not on the shifting sands of popular opinion, but on the unshakable foundation of an awakened, self-defined spirit, capable of standing firm against any storm. The initial fear of confronting an inner void, a perceived emptiness demanding external validation, dissolves into a revelation of profound magnitude. What was once imagined as a chasm, a space to be filled by the fleeting applause of the world, now unveils itself as a boundless interior landscape, rich with untapped potential, awaiting the hand of its true cultivator. The journey inward, once a venture into the unknown, has transformed into a homecoming, a rediscovery of a kingdom long neglected. Beneath the incessant thrum of societal expectations, the whispers of intuition, once faint and easily dismissed, now rise into a clear, resonant chorus. These are not merely suggestions. They are directives from the core of being, guiding principles for the architecture of a life truly lived. To honor these forgotten longings of the heart, to heed these inner truths, demands a courage unlike any other. For the world, in its established order, will inevitably perceive such authenticity as a challenge, a disruption to its constructed realities. Yet, with each deliberate choice to align with this inner truth, the perceived void transmutes. It reveals itself not as an absence, but as a fertile expanse, a sacred, self-defined space where the genuine blueprints of tomorrow can begin to unfurl. Imagine a vast, hidden garden, nurtured not by external rains, but by the deep wellspring of self-knowledge. Here the seeds of purpose take root, the vines of creativity intertwine, and the blossoms of authentic expression unfurl in vibrant hues. This is the inner sanctum, the inviolable core from which all true power emanates. The structure that now begins to rise is no ephemeral construction, built upon the shifting sands of popular opinion or the fickle currents of fleeting trends. It is an edifice of the spirit, forged from the unshakable foundation of an awakened, self-defined consciousness. Every decision, every boundary drawn, every aspiration cultivated within this sacred domain adds another stone, another beam to a fortress of inviolable integrity. This is not merely resilience, it is an inherent sovereignty, a profound self-ownership that withstands the most tempestuous storms. The revelation is this: you have not merely found your ground, you have become the ground. You are not a structure waiting to be built upon a borrowed foundation, but the very bedrock itself. This profound shift, from seeking external validation to embodying intrinsic worth, is the true genesis of creation. It is the moment when the architect recognizes their own power, not just to design, but to manifest. From this boundless, cultivated interior, this unwavering, self-defined spirit, limitless possibilities unfurl. The stage is set. The true work, the majestic undertaking of shaping a future from the very essence of your awakened self, now begins. Chapter 5. Cultivating the Inner Sanctuary, a Sacred Space. The shift was profound, a tectonic reordering of the spirit's deepest strata. One ceased to be a seeker, forever gazing outward for a reflection of worth, and became instead the very ground beneath one's feet. This was not mere discovery. It was an embodiment, the very genesis of the sovereign self, a living bedrock upon which all authentic creation could unfurl. A magnificent quietude descended, the peace of absolute self-possession. Yet even the most formidable mountain, rooted deep within the earth's core, knows the relentless assault of winds that sculpt its peaks and waters that carve its valleys. Even the most ancient forests, verdant with self-sustaining life, must contend with the encroaching desertification of doubt or the wildfires of societal judgment. The outer world, a vast, swirling tapestry woven from ceaseless demands and echoing judgments, does not simply recede once inner sovereignty is claimed. It persists, a persistent, pervasive hum against the delicate resonance of one's own truth. It is the constant whisper of should, the insistent roar of must, the subtle erosion of identity through comparison and external metrics. How then does one safeguard this newly discovered sacred ground, this foundational integrity that took aeons to reveal? How does the architect, now empowered to manifest from within, protect their nascent blueprints from the dust storms of external validation and the torrential rains of collective expectation? This is the profound enigma that now presents itself, a mystery not of external conquest, but of internal preservation. For without a consecrated space, a chamber shielded from the cacophony, even the most resolute inner voice can become muffled, its clarity obscured by the world's insistent clamor. Without a fortress built around the self-defined spirit, the delicate tendrils of emergent wisdom are vulnerable to being trampled by the careless feet of public opinion or scorched by the fires of unwarranted criticism. The magnificent undertaking of shaping a future from the awakened self, glimpsed in its glorious potential, could falter, its power diluted, its trajectory diverted. Is it possible to forge a sanctuary so absolute, so inviolable, that it becomes an eternal spring for the spirit, a silent arbiter of one's truest intent? Can one truly construct an inner domain where the soul is not merely sheltered but actively nourished, a wellspring of resilience against the ceaseless ebb and flow of external fortune? Or is this an impossible dream, a transient stillness destined to be consumed by the relentless tide of public gaze and societal pressure, leading to a weary retreat from the very self one has so painstakingly become? The true mystery, then, lies not in escaping the world, but in the profound architecture of the soul itself, how to not merely exist within a world of chaos, but to thrive, unyielding, by cultivating an interior realm where only the genuine self is permitted to speak, and its wisdom, unblemished and sovereign, can forever guide the hand of creation towards its truest, most magnificent expression. The query echoed, a whisper on the wind of doubt. Is this inner domain a mere transient stillness destined to be consumed, a weary retreat from the very self one has so painstakingly become? No, for the true architecture of the soul is not a fleeting shelter against a storm, but a living, breathing edifice, a sacred space not immune to the world's clamor, but rendered profoundly resilient by its very nature, a wellspring that deepens with every turning of the inner gaze. It is not built with the mortar of public acclaim, nor the timber of fleeting trends, but forged from the quiet crucible of contemplation, from moments meticulously reclaimed from the ceaseless external tide that threatens to drown all stillness. Consider the profound, unseen roots of an ancient tree, anchoring its majestic form against every tempest, drawing sustenance from hidden depths. So too is this sanctuary constructed not by outward show, but by the profound, often arduous, hidden work of self-acquaintance and unwavering introspection. The genuine self, whose sacred voice the previous word spoke of, finds its resonant tone, not in the cacophony of agreement or the shrill demands of dissent, but in the profound silence that blossoms only after the intentional quieting of all external demands. It is here, in this meticulously curated internal landscape, that the spirit truly begins to breathe, unencumbered by the heavy garments of expectation that often masquerade as undeniable truth. This sacred space demands a specific, unwavering kind of nourishment. It feeds deeply on authenticity, on the quiet courage to face one's deepest truths without flinching, on the disciplined willingness to prune away the parasitic tendrils of societal conditioning and the thorny brambles of self-deception. It is sustained by intentional solitude, not as a panicked escape from the world's pressing weight, but as a deliberate homecoming, a conscious, reverent descent into the very wellspring of being, a place where unclouded clarity resides, untouched by the shifting sands of fortune. To cultivate such an inner sanctuary is to become an ever-vigilant guardian of one's own inner gates. What thoughts are permitted entry into this hallowed ground? What turbulent emotions are allowed to take root and potentially choke the nascent sprouts of wisdom? This discerning vigilance is not merely a discipline, it is the foundational cornerstone of its enduring resilience, ensuring that the precious, potent wisdom brewing within its sacred confines remains unblemished, utterly protected from the relentless tides of public gaze and the insidious pressures of societal expectation. The profound beauty of this internal architecture lies precisely in its dynamic strength, its capacity to grow. It is neither static nor inherently fragile. Each deliberate act of conscious presence, each profound moment of genuine, honest reflection, adds another invisible yet impenetrable layer to its core, fortifying it against the inevitable erosion of external fortune. It becomes not a weary retreat from the true self, but a magnificent, unwavering dwelling within the genuine self, an unshakable center from which all authentic action, all true creation, beautifully flows. The unblemished and sovereign wisdom is not a gift passively received, nor a fleeting insight. It is a profound treasure actively unearthed, diligently polished, and meticulously revered within these hallowed inner confines. It is the unwavering compass that, once truly calibrated by the deep truths of one's own being, will forever guide the hand of creation, ensuring that its expression is not merely a reactive echo to the world's fleeting dramas, but a deliberate, magnificent unfolding of the genuine self's truest, most sovereign purpose, a testament to an impossible dream made manifest. Consider, then, the incessant clamor of the world outside these sacred walls you have begun to erect within the very essence of your being. The relentless tides of fleeting opinion, the seductive whispers of distraction, the urgent demands of a reality often forged in haste and superficiality. Do they not, at times, threaten to drown the nascent flicker of your deepest truth? We live amidst a constant bombardment of external narratives, each vying for dominion over our perception, each attempting to define our value, our purpose, our very trajectory. This external symphony, often discordant, seeks to pull us outward, away from the quietude where genuine self resides. Yet within the sanctum of your cultivating spirit, a profound metamorphosis occurs. The sovereign wisdom, once a whispered promise, now begins to resonate with a clarity that defies the external cacophony. It is here, in this unassailable refuge, that the illusion of separation between your inner world and the outer spectacle begins to dissolve. This is not an escape from reality, nor a retreat into hermetic isolation. On the contrary, it is a deeper immersion into the fundamental truths that govern existence, a profound recalibration of your internal compass. You are not merely observing the storm. You become the unwavering anchor within its heart, the still point around which its fury dissipates into inconsequence, its sound transforming into a distant, muffled hum. For when your compass is truly calibrated by the unblemished wisdom residing within, every external event, every challenge, every triumph is filtered through the luminous lens of your authentic purpose. The anxieties that once gnawed at the edges of your peace now reveal themselves as mere ripples on a vast, serene lake. The pressures that once bent you to their will now encounter an unyielding strength, rooted deeply in the soil of your inner truth. The actions you take cease to be reactive responses to the world's fleeting dramas. They transform into deliberate, conscious expressions of that truth, each step a testament to the magnificent unfolding of your genuine self. Imagine, then, a life where the external world with all its turbulence no longer dictates the tenor of your spirit, but rather serves as a grand, infinite canvas upon which the vibrant colors of your authentic being are fearlessly unfurled. Your inner sanctuary, once a personal treasure, radiates its light outward, not as a defiant challenge to the chaos, but as an invitation to behold a life lived not by the world's capricious dictates, but by the magnificent, unwavering rhythm of your own sovereign heart. This is the profound revelation. The sacred space within is not a separate realm, distant and unreachable, but the very crucible from which a transformed reality is continuously forged. A reality where genuine self and manifest world become inseparable, dancing partners in the grand symphony of existence, each note resonating with your singular, uncompromised essence. The sanctuary becomes not a barrier, but a powerful lens, clarifying the path through the densest fog of earthly experience. The profound truth, unveiled in these quiet moments, ripples outward from the core of your being. Your inner sanctuary, once perceived as a guarded chamber against the world's clamor, reveals itself not as a static refuge, but as the very wellspring of your manifest reality. Imagine it not as a barricade, but as the tranquil eye of a storm, an unmoving epicenter from which all transformative currents elegantly spiral forth. From this sacred, still point, the raw, unfiltered ore of experience is drawn inward, not to be merely contained, but to be rigorously refined. The heavy dross of external expectation, the corrosive rust of unexamined fears, the binding chains of societal imprint, all are subjected to the refining fire within this hallowed space, transmuted into pure, gleaming resonance. Here, clarity is not found, it is forged. This is not a retreat from the vibrant, often tumultuous tapestry of the world, but a profound, centered engagement with it. You interact from a vantage point of unassailable stillness, a deep inner wellspring of unwavering purpose. The luminescence that now radiates from you, born of this meticulously cultivated space, is no longer a defiant challenge to chaos, but a generous, quiet offering. It is an offering of uncompromised authenticity, a beacon of truth in a landscape frequently shrouded in the dense mists of illusion and fleeting desires. This emanation is a quiet invitation, not a demanding proclamation, drawing others not through force, but through the magnetic pull of genuine presence. Observe how the once distinct lines between your inner cosmos and the outer world begin to shimmer, then gracefully dissolve, vanishing altogether. You cease to be a separate entity, merely observing reality from a detached distance. Instead, you become a living current, an integral, harmonious stream within its ceaseless flow. Your sanctuary, once envisioned as a hidden room, a secret garden, now reveals its true nature. It is the fundamental architecture of your very being, intrinsically inseparable from the world you consciously touch, lovingly influence, and powerfully co-create. It is the beating heart of your personal cosmos, a steady, luminous sun whose unwavering gravity holds your manifest reality, your relationships, your endeavors, your very circumstances, in perfect orbital harmony. This sacred space is far from a static edifice, a dusty museum piece of past efforts. No, it is a dynamic, living, breathing entity, perpetually expanding its luminous boundaries, deepening its resonant chambers, and refining its intricate contours with every conscious breath you draw, with every intentional choice you make, with every moment of mindful presence you embody. It is the unshakable bedrock beneath the shifting sands of existence, an eternal testament to your inherent, sovereign nature, a silent, powerful anchor in a sea of constant flux. It is the unwavering reference point from which all true navigation originates. To walk forth from the profound embrace of this understanding is to step into a world utterly transformed, not because its external fabric has been violently ripped apart or rearranged, but because the very instrument through which you perceive, interpret, and interact with it has been exquisitely refined and tuned. The journey of cultivating the inner sanctuary, therefore, is not a final destination arrived at, but a magnificent perpetual unfolding. It is an eternal testament to the immeasurable, sovereign power residing deep within you, awaiting only your recognition and conscious activation. And with this profound, unwavering integration, the true work, the work of deliberate, conscious creation and harmonious being, truly begins. The stage is not merely set for a quiet withdrawal, but for a majestic, breathtaking unveiling of your authentic self, a grand symphony of existence played from the deepest, most resonant core of your being, its notes echoing through eternity. Chapter 6. The Forge of Introspection, Shaping the Unseen. The inner sanctuary, once cultivated, stands as a testament, a meticulously constructed vessel of peace and profound resonance. Its walls hum with the echoes of your deepest truths, its atmosphere purified by the conscious unveiling of your authentic self. But what then does one do within such a hallowed space? Is it merely a place of quiet repose, a serene harbor from the world's ceaseless currents? Or does its very existence beckon towards a deeper, more strenuous engagement? Herein lies the essential enigma, the profound paradox that follows revelation. For the authentic self, however majestically unveiled, is not a static monolith, but a living, breathing tapestry of potential and shadow, intricate patterns awaiting discernment. To merely reside within the sanctuary is to acknowledge its presence. To truly work within it is to embrace an alchemical process of unparalleled intimacy. How does one navigate the unseen currents within this sacred chamber? What instruments does one employ to illuminate the hidden corners of consciousness, to truly understand the very substance of one's being? This is the threshold where the soft light of recognition transforms into the searing glow of the forge. It is here, within the quietude, that the true crucible of introspection ignites. We speak not of passive reflection, but of an active, deliberate engagement with the deepest strata of existence itself. The raw materials of experience, the nascent thoughts, the forgotten memories, the dormant potentials all await the fire. Yet, what exactly is forged in this unseen realm? What forces are wielded to shape the immaterial, to give form to the formless? The grand symphony of your authentic self, though echoing through eternity, holds within its score a vast, uncharted movement, a powerful crescendo waiting to be composed through the conscious reshaping of the unseen. This is the journey into the very heart of becoming, where courage illuminates the depths and truth is sculpted from the unrefined ore of self. In the hallowed crucible of introspection, one does not merely observe the self, but actively engages in its profound metamorphosis. Here, in the silent chambers of being, the true smith awakens. It is not a passive mirror reflecting what is, but a vibrant forge where what could be is brought forth from the shimmering dust of potential. The raw materials of experience, those nascent thoughts that drift like unformed clouds, the forgotten memories buried beneath the strata of daily living, and the dormant potentials that hum with unseen energy, these are not inert substances. They are volatile, dynamic, constantly shifting, and it is within this unseen realm that the profound alchemy of self-sculpture begins. What forces, then, are wielded in this ethereal workshop? Primarily, it is the focused intensity of conscious awareness itself. This is the searing heat that melts the unrefined ore of our conditioning, stripping away the dross of societal expectations and the rust of ancient fears. It is the unwavering gaze that holds the formless until it begins to coalesce, until the outlines of authentic truth become undeniable. The act of bringing a forgotten memory into the full light of present understanding is not just recollection, it is a reforging, an imbuing with new meaning and context, transforming its power over the present. The nascent thought, once a fleeting whisper, is given substance through deliberate attention, shaped by intent into a guiding principle or a creative impulse. The hammer and anvil of this forge are none other than discernment and acceptance. Discernment, the sharp, penetrating blow that separates the genuine from the illusory, the vital from the superfluous. It is the wisdom to recognize which impulses serve the authentic self and which are merely echoes of external programming. Acceptance, the steadfast, unyielding base upon which every revelation must settle. It is the willingness to embrace the entirety of what is found, the light and the shadow, the strength and the vulnerability, without judgment or resistance. Together, these two forces allow for the shaping of the immaterial, granting form to that which was previously formless, coherence to that which was fragmented. Consider the unseen realm itself. It is not a void, but a vibrant tapestry of energetic currents, beliefs, and nascent intentions. To shape the immaterial is to repattern these currents, to reweave the tapestry according to the design of the authentic self. When a dormant potential is consciously engaged, it is akin to drawing forth a sleeping giant from its subterranean slumber, providing it with the energy and direction it needs to manifest in the lived experience. This is not mere wishing. It is a profound act of self-authorship where the very architecture of one's inner world is reconstructed, not to conform to an external ideal, but to align with the timeless blueprint held within the very core of one's being. The courage spoken of previously is the fuel for this ceaseless fire. It is the willingness to look unflinchingly into the depths, to confront the unrefined ore of self with an open heart and an unyielding will. For in the heart of this crucible, truth is not merely discovered, it is meticulously sculpted, polished, and brought into resplendent form. The grand symphony of the authentic self, with its vast, uncharted movement, finds its powerful crescendo not through passive waiting, but through the conscious, deliberate, and courageous reshaping of the unseen, transforming the raw materials of existence into a masterpiece of genuine becoming. The crucible's heat, once a personal inferno, does not merely transform the ore within its confined walls. No, the alchemical fire that forges the authentic self casts its light far beyond the private chambers of introspection. For this unseen work, this meticulous sculpting of the inner landscape, is never truly unseen for long. Its resonance ripples outward, a silent tremor beneath the surface of the world you inhabit. Consider the change, subtle at first, like the shifting of light through an ancient forest. The world outside has not altered its form, yet your perception of it undergoes a profound metamorphosis. Where once shadows stretched long with doubt, new pathways now emerge, illuminated by the clarity forged within. The echoes of fear that once distorted conversations now recede, replaced by a quiet strength that listens without judgment, speaks with conviction, and moves with an unburdened grace. This is the revelation, not a sudden burst like lightning across a dark sky, but a slow unfolding dawn. You begin to notice the ease with which decisions are made, no longer battling internal dissonance. You observe how situations that once triggered turmoil now meet a steadfast calm. The fragmented self, once scattered by external winds, has coalesced into an integrated whole, a singular edifice built upon the bedrock of self-knowledge. And from this deep foundation, an undeniable truth begins to radiate. The external world, in its bewildering complexity, serves not as a master, but as a mirror. It reflects the truth of your internal architecture. When your inner blueprint is clear, when the forge has refined your essence, the world ceases to be a source of constant challenge and becomes instead a dynamic canvas upon which your authentic self can paint its living reality. The connections you form deepen, for they are no longer built on masks or projections, but on the genuine substance you have courageously shaped. The opportunities that present themselves align more truly with your purpose, for your very vibration has shifted, drawing forth what resonates with your deepest being. This is not a whispered promise of an ethereal afterlife, but the tangible recalibration of your present existence. The courage to look inward, to stoke the fires of self-scrutiny, is repaid not in gold, but in the liberation of a life lived in profound alignment. It is the moment when the unseen work within blossoms into a vivid, undeniable reality without. You are no longer merely enduring the world. You are engaging with it, shaping it, and experiencing it from a vantage point of integrated power. This is your truth, born from the forge, now manifest in every breath, every choice, every single moment of your conscious unfolding. The fires of introspection, once raging, now glow with a steady, enduring warmth. The raw heat that reshaped your core has subsided, leaving behind not ashes, but a luminescence, stark and undeniable. You stand now, not as the seeker within the crucible, but as the one who has emerged, forged anew. The unseen work, painstakingly undertaken in the depths of silence, has solidified into a palpable presence. It is a quiet authority that resonates from your very being, a new frequency that hums with purpose. Observe the shift. The world around you, once a chaotic symphony of demands, begins to reveal its underlying harmony. Where shadows once obscured pathways, a clarity now guides your gaze. This is not a change in the external landscape itself, but a profound recalibration of the lens through which you perceive it. The patterns of meaning, previously hidden beneath the surface of daily existence, now unfurl with graceful precision. You see the intricate dance of cause and effect, the subtle currents that propel events, and your place within that grand design becomes unmistakably clear. This profound alignment, born from the courage to confront the self, is your newfound sovereignty. It is the liberation from the chains of unexamined belief, the freedom from reactions dictated by external currents. Each breath you draw is now infused with intention, each choice a conscious articulation of your deepest truths. The scattered fragments of self, once adrift, have converged into a singular, integrated power. This power is not one of domination over others, but of mastery over your own destiny, a quiet strength that emanates from within and shapes the world around you through resonance, not force. The whispers of the forge have faded, replaced by the clear, unwavering voice of your authentic self. This is the culmination of a chapter, yet simultaneously it is the threshold of an unfolding. The foundation has been laid, solid and true, built from the very essence of your being. You have journeyed beyond mere endurance, transcended simple existence, and arrived at a vantage point of profound engagement. What was once abstract intention has become manifest reality. What was once a distant echo of potential now beats as the vibrant pulse of your living truth. The tools of introspection are now refined instruments of navigation. The wisdom gleaned from the crucible is your compass. The courage that fueled your inner journey will now propel you forward into the vast, open expanse of what is yet to be explored. For this is not an end, but a majestic beginning, a conscious step onto a path illuminated by the radiant light of your own creation. You are ready. The world awaits the unveiling of what you have become. Chapter 7. Drawing sustenance from the wellspring of solitude. The journey's end, you believed, was merely a gateway. The crucible of introspection had refined the raw ore of your spirit, shaping it into an instrument of profound truth. The radiant light of your own creation now gleamed, a beacon for the world to witness. Yet even as the vast expanse beckoned, a deeper current stirs beneath the surface of this perceived readiness. For what good is a vessel, no matter how exquisitely crafted, if its essential source of sustenance remains untapped, unexplored? The echoes of that inner forging still resonate within you, a vibrant pulse beating as your living truth, affirming a readiness born from profound engagement and tireless self-sculpting. You stand poised, magnificent in your self-realization, ready to unfurl the banner of your unique, emergent self against the vast winds of existence, to contribute the indelible essence of your being to the grand tapestry of life. But pause. Consider for a moment the hidden mountain spring, nestled deep within the earth's silent embrace. Its existence is not proclaimed by grand gestures, yet it is the silent, perpetual wellspring that nurtures the mighty river, the one that eventually carves grand canyons and irrigates sprawling valleys, bringing life to arid lands. Its profound power lies not solely in its outward dynamic flow, but irrevocably in the ceaseless, quiet replenishment drawn from unseen, unadulterated depths. The river's strength is a testament to its source, a testament to the continuous, unobserved communion with the core of the earth itself. It is here, at the precipice of grand unveiling, where the greatest paradox often reveals itself to the discerning eye. For the very strength that empowers you to engage with the world, to truly manifest your deepest, most authentic being, demands a sacred, often solitary sanctuary for its unending renewal. The external world, with all its clamor and myriad currents of demanding engagement, eagerly awaits the unveiling of what you have become. But what will you offer if the wellspring of your being is permitted to run dry, its essential waters depleted by the constant outflow, without a vital, continuous replenishment? Where will the unwavering courage, forged in fire, and the pristine wisdom gleaned from the crucible, find their continuous, untainted fount amidst the ceaseless demands and distractions of outward existence? This is not a retreat from the world, but a profound re-engagement with the primal source. It is a turning inward, not from fear, but from a deeper, more profound understanding that the external manifestation of truth requires an internal, unending supply. The question, then, is not whether you are ready to give, but from what eternal wellspring you will draw the sustenance for that giving. The ceaseless symphony of the outer world, though vibrant and demanding, is often but a hollow echo. It pulls, it tugs, it clamors for a piece of the essence, a fragment of the spirit. Yet, to surrender entirely to its insistent current is to risk the very erosion of the soul's foundation. What then becomes of the unwavering courage, forged in the silent crucible of adversity, if its embers are constantly fanned by external winds, never allowed to gather the potent heat of their own core? Where does wisdom, pristine and unblemished, find its voice amidst the cacophony if it does not first commune with the deep silence from which all truth originates? The wellspring of solitude is no mere sanctuary of retreat. It is not an escape from responsibility, nor a shelter from the world's relentless storm. Instead, it is a profound journey inward, a deliberate descent into the very bedrock of being. Imagine the ancient aquifer, hidden beneath layers of earth, untouched by the sun's scorching gaze, unpolluted by the surface's churn. Its waters are not stagnant, but perpetually refreshed by unseen currents, pure, vibrant, and infinitely deep. This is the fount of sustenance, the vital source from which enduring strength and clarity must invariably flow. In this sacred inner chamber, the self is stripped of its borrowed costumes, its adopted roles, its fleeting desires. Here, in the profound quietude, the true architecture of courage is laid bare. It is here that the metal of resilience is purified, not by the clamor of conflict, but by the focused heat of introspection, rendering it impervious to the external world's transient pressures. This is where the pristine wisdom is not merely accumulated but remembered, brought forth from the ancestral depths of consciousness, untainted by opinion or expectation. It is the wisdom that resonates with the universal hum, the truth that needs no validation because it is self-evident. To draw from this wellspring is an active, conscious endeavor. It is not idleness, but intense cultivation. It demands a turning away from immediate external validations towards the enduring nourishment of self-discovery. Each profound moment within this communion replenishes the spirit, sharpens the intellect, deepens compassion. It ensures that when you engage with the world, when you offer your gifts, your wellspring is not merely full, but overflowing, an endless cascade of vital energy, ready to irrigate the parched landscapes of outward existence. This inner reservoir becomes the steadfast anchor, ensuring your deepest truth is never a finite offering, but an infinite, self-renewing testament to the enduring power drawn from within. Consider the ceaseless clamor of the world, a relentless tide of expectations and external judgments that seeks to define the very essence of your being. It is an overwhelming symphony of voices, each demanding attention, each offering a transient validation that dissipates like mist at dawn. In such an environment, the spirit often feels adrift, tossed by currents beyond its control, seeking an anchor that remains elusive on the shifting sands of public opinion. Yet within the quietude cultivated through conscious endeavor, the wellspring you have nurtured begins to assert its profound influence. It is not merely a retreat, but a strategic fortification, a grounding into the very bedrock of your truest self. When you emerge from this communion, you do not return to the world as one exhausted by its demands, nor as one desperate for its fleeting approval. Instead, you carry within you the quiet strength of the deep sea current, unyielding beneath the surface turmoil. This inner reservoir, now overflowing, manifests as an unshakable clarity of purpose, a serene resilience that acts as an impenetrable shield against the slings and arrows of triviality. Others may perceive it as an inexplicable calm, a profound centeredness that radiates outward, drawing them into a space of greater authenticity simply by your presence. The true revelation lies in how this inner abundance transforms your interactions. No longer do you offer fragments of yourself, anxiously seeking reciprocation. Instead, you offer from a place of wholeness, an endless cascade of vital energy. Your words carry the weight of truth, unburdened by the need to impress or persuade. Your actions are imbued with genuine compassion, untainted by expectation. It is the wisdom of the ancient tree, its roots delving deep into the earth, providing unwavering stability as its branches reach skyward, offering shelter and sustenance without effort. This is not a performance, but a natural emanation of your deepest truth. When faced with conflict, the wellspring ensures your responses are measured, your perspective expansive. When confronted with doubt, your inner voice speaks with an authority that transcends external noise. This connection to your self-evident truth allows you to discern the genuine from the superficial, to differentiate between passing fads and enduring principles. It ensures that every gift you offer, every contribution you make, springs from a source that is truly limitless, unpolluted by the anxieties of scarcity or the cravings for external affirmation. It is a testament to the enduring power drawn from within, an infinite, self-renewing force that irrigates the parched landscapes of outward existence, transforming not just your own reality, but subtly, profoundly, the reality of those around you. This is the profound reorientation, the revelation that the truest influence is born not of striving, but of an overflowing inner peace. Here, then, lies the profound culmination of this silent drawing, the ultimate revelation whispered from the depths of solitude. It is the conscious recognition that the wellspring is not merely a source to be visited, but an indelible current flowing ceaselessly within the very architecture of being. The wisdom gleaned in those hallowed quiet moments becomes an unshakable bedrock, anchoring the spirit against the tempestuous winds of external clamor. One ceases to merely drink from the quietude. One becomes the quietude itself, a living testament to an inner sanctum where true strength perpetually resides. This is the self-evident truth that finally unfurls, like an ancient map, revealing hidden paths to an infinite treasury. The discernment of the genuine from the superficial becomes effortless, an intuitive knowing that requires no intricate analysis, only the pure resonance of the heart's own veritas. Passing fads and ephemeral principles lose their grip entirely, replaced by an enduring clarity that sees through the transient to the timeless. Every offering made, every connection forged, every act of grace extended now flows from this crystalline spring, unpolluted by the anxieties of scarcity or the desperate cravings for external validation. It is a gift born of profound abundance, not a plea for recognition. The true influence, therefore, is not sought, but simply is. It emanates like a gentle warmth from a deep earth fissure, transforming the barren landscapes of outward striving into fertile ground. This infinite, self-renewing force, drawn from the deepest interior, irrigates not just your own parched existence, but casts its subtle, profound ripples across the realities of those around you. They witness not your effort, but your effortless grace, not your struggle, but your unshakable peace. This transformation is the quiet revolution of the soul, a profound reorientation that shifts the very axis of power. It is the understanding that the most potent force in the universe is not found in outward exertion, but in the overflowing, boundless peace that is discovered, cultivated, and finally embodied within. And in this embodiment, the next chapter of being truly begins. Chapter 8, The Canvas of Self-Creation in the Quietude. From the quiet revolution of the soul, a new dawn breaks. The axis of power has shifted, not outwards towards the clamor of the world, but inwards to the silent sanctuary where true strength resides. Now, the journey turns to the boundless expanse that stretches before the soul, the canvas of self. Many behold this blank expanse and perceive only absence, a void to be filled by frantic motion, by the anxious hand of outward striving. They mistake stillness for stagnation, profound quietude for an absence of voice. Yet the sovereign voice whispers a deeper truth. This very quietude is not an end, but the fertile ground from which all authentic creation springs. It is the silent prelude to the symphony, the unblemished marble awaiting the chisel's patient grace. Consider the master artisan standing before their work. Their hands are still. Their gaze, however, holds the entire universe of what is to be, No frenetic energy guides their initial contemplation, only a profound, unwavering presence. The enigma, then, is this: if the most potent force lies within, if effortless grace is the hallmark of true being, why do so many labor under the illusion that creation demands struggle? Why is genius so often perceived as born from tension, expression wrestled from a reluctant muse? Why do they chase the fleeting echo in the marketplace rather than listen to the resonant truth within the silent chamber of their own heart? The wellspring of solitude, once found, does not merely sustain. It overflows, seeking expression. It illuminates, casting light upon unseen possibilities. This inner abundance, this boundless peace, is the very substance with which the universe itself is woven. To truly create is not to invent from nothing, but to unveil what is already eternally present within. The true mystery, then, is not what to create, but how to align with that silent, boundless wellspring, so that creation flows not as an act of will, but as inevitable, effortless grace. This is the quiet revolution, moving from embodiment to manifestation, from profound inner peace to its radiant, undeniable expression upon the canvas of existence. How does one learn to wield the brush of being not with the hand of outward effort, but with the subtle, profound touch of inner knowing? How does the stillness of the soul translate into the vibrant dance of life without ever losing its fundamental peace? The answer to the soul's yearning, to wield the brush of being not with the frantic hand of outward effort, but with the subtle, profound touch of inner knowing, lies not in seeking a new technique, but in rediscovering an ancient resonance. It is the art of unlearning, of shedding the layers of accumulated striving to reveal the innate current that already flows within. Imagine a vast subterranean river, powerful and silent, its course determined by the very contours of the earth itself, not by a single ripple upon its surface. The inner knowing is this current. To align with it is to cease battling the visible currents of the world and to surrender to the deep, unseen flow that guides all true creation. This subtle touch is cultivated in the deep quietude, where the clamor of desire and the urgency of ambition begin to recede. Here the artist does not command the pigment, but listens to the canvas. The composer does not force the note, but hears the symphony already echoing in the void. This is not idleness, but a profound form of active receptivity. It is akin to a gardener who understands that the flower already exists within the seed. Their role is not to invent the bloom, but to provide the nurturing soil, the water and the light, allowing the inherent blueprint to unfold in its own perfect timing. The inner knowing is that blueprint, vast and infinitely complex, yet utterly simple in its essence. To translate the stillness of the soul into the vibrant dance of life without ever losing its fundamental peace requires this same nuanced understanding. The stillness is not inertness, but the fertile void from which all possibility arises. It is the unmanifested potential, pure and boundless. When this stillness is accessed, when the soul learns to abide in its inherent peace, creation emerges not as a frantic scramble to impose will, but as an organic emanation. It is like the sun, effortlessly radiating light and warmth, yet remaining entirely whole and undisturbed at its core. Its brilliance is not diminished by the act of shining. Its essence is not spent in the giving. The vibrant dance of life, then, becomes an extension of this unassailable peace. Each step, each color, each note is not a departure from the quietude, but a manifestation of it. It is the universe breathing itself into existence, moment by moment, without tension, without struggle. The breath itself does not lose its fundamental peace, even as it expands and contracts. This is the profound harmony. The soul does not create from a place of inner knowing, but as inner knowing. The separation dissolves. The creator becomes the creation, and the creation, an echo of the silent, boundless wellspring from which all forms eternally emerge. The piece remains the bedrock, the unseen foundation upon which the grand, glorious edifice of existence is continuously, effortlessly built. This is the quiet revolution, the gentle unfolding of all that is, from the infinite wellspring to the dazzling surface of reality. Now, let the gaze of this wisdom turn inward, toward the very fabric of your own existence. The boundless wellspring from which all forms eternally emerge is not a distant, esoteric realm. It courses through the arteries of your own being. The profound harmony, the universe breathing itself into existence without tension, without struggle, is the very breath you draw, the pulse that beats within your chest. It is not merely an external truth, but the bedrock of your innermost reality. Consider your own life as a vast, unfolding canvas. Each thought you entertain, each emotion you nurture, each action you undertake is a brushstroke. For too long, humanity has been taught to paint from a place of frantic effort, of external validation, of a perceived lack that must be filled. But the true revelation dawns when you understand that the hand holding the brush is not separate from the canvas itself. You are not merely a painter observing a blank space, hoping to impose an image upon it. You are the canvas, the paint, the brush, and the artist, all woven into a singular, seamless tapestry of being. The quietude is not merely a state of rest between actions, it is the fertile void from which authentic action springs. When you create from this inner knowing, from the soul not as a creator but as creation itself, the separation dissolves, the struggle ceases. Imagine a sculptor whose hands move not with brute force but with an intuitive knowing of the form hidden within the stone. Their touch is gentle, precise, guided by an unseen current. This is the effortless unfolding. This is the quiet revolution that calls to your spirit, your deepest desires, your most authentic expressions, your most profound connections do not originate from the clamor of the world. They whisper from the very wellspring within you, from that place of fundamental peace that remains undisturbed, even amidst the swirling currents of daily life. The revelation is this: you are not seeking peace, for peace is already the unseen foundation upon which the grand, glorious edifice of your existence is continuously, effortlessly built. You are not striving for creation, you are its living, breathing manifestation. This connection to your reality is not an intellectual exercise. It is a felt sense, a deep resonance that vibrates through your core when you momentarily quiet the external noise and turn inward. It is recognizing that the source of all inspiration, all vitality, all genuine transformation lies not beyond you, but precisely as you. To touch this quietude is to touch the very blueprint of your soul, to access the infinite potential that perpetually seeks to manifest through your unique expression. It is to know, beyond all doubt, that you are a continuous, graceful emanation of the boundless. Your creation is the universe's soft, steady breath, manifesting itself through the prism of your individual journey. This is the profound truth that waits to be unveiled within your own lived experience, transforming every moment into an act of sacred art. The quietude, once touched, is not merely a fleeting encounter. It is an enduring state, a permanent invitation, revealing that the canvas of self is never truly blank, but rather pre-primed with the very essence of the cosmos. Consider the light that suffuses a sculptor's studio at dawn, unveiling the potential within uncarved stone, not by force but by gentle revelation. So too does the quietude illuminate the inherent masterpiece within you. It is the silent affirmation that your essence is art, your presence a continuous creation. Every breath, every thought given gentle space, every intention allowed to surface becomes a brushstroke upon this living canvas. These are not merely actions, but sacred expressions. This realization transcends mere understanding. It transforms perception itself. The world ceases to be a mere collection of external forces to be navigated. Instead, it becomes a dynamic mirror reflecting the depths you have unveiled within. The vibrant tapestry of existence is no longer something separate, but an extension of that boundless self, perpetually woven and rewoven through your unique perspective. The profound truth is this: you are not merely creating art, you are the art in its most living, breathing, and evolving form. Each choice, each interaction, each moment of conscious awareness is an intentional stroke upon this living canvas. You are not a solitary artist in a void, but a crucial, unique current within the infinite river of universal creation. To accept this truth is to step into a majestic partnership with existence itself. It means recognizing that the whispers of inspiration are echoes from your own deepest well, and the vibrancy of life is but a reflection of your inherent aliveness. This unveiling of self, this quiet communion, is the ultimate preparation. It is the anointing of the soul for a life lived not in frantic pursuit of meaning, but as the very embodiment of it. The internal landscape, once explored, is not a place to retreat to, but a wellspring from which all genuine external manifestation must flow. The canvas of self, perpetually receiving the universe's soft, steady breath, is never truly complete. It is an eternal work in progress, a testament to the boundless creativity that flows through you. To touch this quietude is to accept the ongoing invitation to co-create with the infinite, transforming every moment into an act of sacred art, not as a performance, but as your most authentic expression. And as the final stroke of this understanding settles, a new vista unfurls before the inner eye. The quietude, once seen as a destination, reveals itself as the launch pad. What was once perceived as the end of an internal journey is in truth the profound genesis for a richer, more intentional engagement with the world beyond. For when the artist truly knows the canvas and understands the inexhaustible palette within, then the masterful composition of a life lived in truth can truly begin to resonate across the expanse of all existence. This silent, unwavering truth is the compass for all that is yet to unfold, the foundational chord for the symphony of being. Chapter 9. The Art of Deep Listening to Your Own Truth. From the tranquil harbour of self-knowledge, where the boundless canvas of one's essence was intimately understood, a new voyage unfurls. The quietude, having unveiled its sacred art, now offers its profound gift as a compass for the vast unknown that lies beyond the inner eye. Yet the moment the soul steps from this hallowed stillness into the vibrant, often turbulent theatre of existence, a profound dilemma arises, a central mystery that whispers through the very fabric of being. For the outer world is a symphony, or perhaps a cacophony of relentless frequencies. It pulses with countless stories, each a siren song, a demand, a whispered promise, or a shadow of fear. How then does one discern the subtle, singular note of their own inherent truth amidst this grand, overwhelming orchestra? Imagine a lone vessel, its inner charts meticulously drawn, its navigational stars clear in the serene depths of its own contemplation. But now it sails forth onto an ocean where every wave carries a different voice, every distant shore presents a competing mirage of purpose. The compass, once so steady within the sacred silence, begins to waver. It is assailed by magnetic fields unseen, by currents of expectation, by winds of collective consensus, each seeking to pull the ship from its destined course. This is the heart of the enigma, how to truly listen within a world that constantly demands to be heard, not to the insistent echoes in the valleys of external validation, nor the thunderous pronouncements from the peaks of societal decree, nor the relentless drumbeat of inherited belief, but to the silent, unwavering pulse that beats at the very core of one's own sovereign universe. For many walk their days believing they navigate by their own star, yet unknowingly trace the patterns laid out by others, or respond to the insistent, unseen tug of an external tide. The true art, the profound mastery, is not in speaking one's truth into the void, but in the arduous, often solitary act of hearing it first, clearly and unequivocally, above all other voices. The challenge is not in finding a voice, but in discerning, with unwavering precision, which voice is authentically, undeniably your own, untainted by the myriad projections of the world. This is the genesis of our deepest quest, to journey inward once more, not to escape the world, but to cultivate the profound discernment required to resonate truly within it, to unearth that unheard harmony, that silent vibration which alone holds the key to a life lived in absolute resonant truth. The external tide, spoken of before, is no crashing wave, but a constant, subtle current. It is the collective hum of expectation, ancestral echoes, societal narratives, and the world's thriving conformity. This tide does not overtly silence the inner voice, but subtly retunes its frequency, blending its unique vibration into a palatable chorus. Imagine a vast, ancient forest. Each tree, each creature emits a silent, unique resonance. Yet above this intricate symphony, a grand orchestra plays from a distant towering city, broadcasting powerful, persuasive melodies. Most creatures, lulled by familiar rhythms, unknowingly move to its beat, mistaking its pervasive sound for the forest's pulse. The true challenge, then, is to step away from the city's omnipresent anthem, to retreat into the deepest, most untouched groves of one's being. This is not rebellion, it is profound reverence for originality. It demands deliberate, often uncomfortable disengagement from easy currents and well-trodden paths. It calls for a silence so absolute it might at first feel deafening, for in the absence of external clamor, inner discord often rises, demanding to be heard before the true melody can emerge. To listen deeply to one's own truth is to become an archaeologist of the self. It requires sifting through layers of inherited belief, excavating assumptions buried by conditioning, and dusting off fragments of dormant desires, authentic inclinations. It is painstaking, for the sediment of external influence clings stubbornly, often masquerading as an intrinsic part of the soul's fabric. Each grain must be examined not with judgment, but with an unwavering commitment to authenticity. This solitary excavation is not about creating a new truth, but revealing the one that has always existed, patiently awaiting discovery beneath the debris. It is akin to clearing a mountain spring after a landslide. The water was always there, pure, life-giving, but obscured by chaos. The effort is not to generate water, but remove all that impedes its natural flow. This requires a peculiar blend of fierce courage and gentle patience. Courage to face what one might find, and patience to allow the true current to re-establish its unhurried, unforced rhythm. Only when the mind stills and the heart opens can the authentic frequency begin to resonate, clear and strong, cutting through the residual static of the world. The authentic frequency, once unearthed, does not merely whisper within the inner sanctum of being. No, it begins to radiate, a silent beacon piercing through the pervasive clamor of the world. Imagine a lighthouse, long dark, its lens finely polished clean, its lamp ignited. Its beam cuts through the midnight sea, not to demand attention, but to offer guidance, a steadfast point of reference in the vast, shifting waters. This is the very essence of the revelation. For the truth you unearth, though intensely personal, is never truly isolated. It is a resonant chord, and its vibration seeks echo. Where once there was a blurred map, now the landscape of your existence sharpens into vivid clarity, each contour and valley revealing its purpose. Decisions that once felt fraught with uncertainty begin to align themselves with an effortless grace, guided not by external mandates, but by the quiet authority of an inner compass now calibrated to its true north, unswayed by magnetic distortions. The relationships you cultivate, the paths you choose to walk, the very air you breathe, all begin to subtly, yet profoundly, reattune. The arduous effort to conform, to fit into molds not fashioned for your unique contours, begins to recede like a distant tide. In its place blossoms a quiet, unshakable confidence, not born of arrogance or self-aggrandizement, but of an undeniable congruence between who you are within and how you present yourself to the world. It is the deep exhale of a traveler who has finally found their true home, a sanctuary built not of stone and timber, but of unwavering self-knowledge and acceptance. This revelation manifests as a profound sense of purpose, not a grand declaration shouted from the rooftops, but an inherent understanding of your rightful place in the intricate tapestry of existence. It is the master craftsmen rediscovering their unique tools, the ancient tree finding its deepest roots, the silent star holding its unyielding orbit. The struggle against your own nature dissolves, replaced by a gentle yet powerful current that carries you toward what truly nourishes your spirit and aligns with your deepest, most fundamental values. You cease to chase external validations, for the truest and most enduring validation has been found within, a wellspring that never runs dry. This newfound internal coherence acts as a discerning filter, effortlessly sifting the essential from the superfluous. Energies that once drained you now seem to dissipate, for they no longer find purchase in the fortified ground of your authentic self. The subtle static of misdirection, the persistent hum of unfulfilled expectations, these begin to fade into silence. The world does not change its form, yet your experience of it is utterly transformed. The superficial layers peel away, and the melody of your own life, unique and resonant, becomes audible, clear and strong. It is the undeniable harmony that unfolds when the inner landscape is finally brought into luminous order, reflecting outward the peace and precision cultivated within. This is not an act of creation, but of remembering, of coming home to the self you were always meant to be. The quiet hum of your deepest self, once a distant echo, now resonates with the clarity of a bell struck in a vast, open sanctuary. It is the sound of truth, not discovered but remembered, a fundamental chord woven into the very fabric of your being from time immemorial. This resonance is not merely an internal sensation, but an outward emanation, a subtle yet profound shift in the energy you present to the world. Where once uncertainty cast long, wavering shadows, there now stands an unyielding light, a beacon that guides not only yourself, but implicitly those who traverse the same labyrinthine paths. This is the revelation, that the truth you sought was never external, never a prize to be won or a secret to be unearthed from ancient texts. It resided, pristine and whole, within the very core of your existence, awaiting only the stillness of your attention to rise to the surface. Like a deep-sea current, powerful and unseen, it has always propelled you, even when you struggled against its silent force. To listen deeply is to align with this current, to surrender to the wisdom that already knows your way, already holds the map to your authentic self. The myriad voices of expectation, of fear, of societal dictate now recede, their clamor diminished to a faint whisper against the roar of your own unassailable knowing. The transformation is complete, yet it is merely a beginning. For this cultivated inner landscape, now brought into luminous order, becomes fertile ground for further growth. The peace and precision cultivated within are not static achievements but dynamic states of being, ever unfolding. You have not arrived at a final destination, but rather you have discovered the compass, the true north, that will guide every subsequent step. the subtle static of misdirection, the persistent hum of unfulfilled expectations, these have not just faded. They have been transmuted into the quiet confidence that arises from self-recognition. The melody of your own life, unique and resonant, becomes not just audible, but a symphony, rich with the harmonies of purpose and the counterpoints of experience. It is a masterpiece composed over lifetimes, finally played with precision and passion. And as this harmony unfolds, reflecting outward the peace and precision cultivated within, you stand at the precipice of a new dawn. The world indeed does not change its form, yet your experience of it is utterly transformed. The superficial layers have peeled away, revealing the enduring essence beneath, not just of yourself, but of all reality. This is the undeniable harmony that unfolds when the inner landscape is finally brought into luminous order, reflecting outward the peace and precision cultivated within. It is not an act of creation, but of remembering, of coming home to the self you were always meant to be. And from this hallowed ground of self-remembrance, you are now poised to step forward, not into the unknown, but into the known possibilities of a life lived in profound resonance with its own immutable truth. The journey continues, but the guide is now undeniably within. Chapter 10, Reclaiming the Crown of Personal Sovereignty. The profound shift, once heralded by the quiet hum of inner truth, now crystallizes into stark, undeniable clarity. You stand at a new threshold, having meticulously cleared the debris of outdated perceptions, having listened to the whispers of a self long overshadowed. A new architecture of being has risen from the ruins of illusion, strong and resonant. The world indeed holds its form, yet your experience of it is utterly transformed, a testament to the luminous order cultivated within. This is not mere transformation, but a profound act of remembrance, a homecoming to the very essence of who you are, unfettered and pure. But what then of the crown, the unspoken regalia of your intrinsic worth, the emblem of your inviolable inner rule, the very sovereignty of your spirit? It is a birthright etched into the foundational code of your being, yet for countless ages it has lain obscured, not lost in some forgotten realm, nor stolen by an external foe, but often, subtly, incrementally, set aside. Consider the grand halls of an ancestral palace, where a throne of polished ebony and gilded filigree stands empty, bathed in dust motes dancing in sunbeams. The rightful monarch wanders the outer grounds, tending to mundane tasks, convinced the seat of power is for another, or perhaps a fable from a bygone era. They walk head bowed, their steps echoing with a yearning they cannot quite name, a persistent phantom ache for a dignity believed to be forever out of reach. This is the pervasive paradox of the human journey. The crown of personal sovereignty, though invisible, is the core of your self-governance, the authority by which you navigate existence. It is the unwavering inner compass, the quiet conviction that your truth is valid, your voice essential, your path your own. Yet, from the earliest dawn of consciousness, a subtle erosion begins. 1,000 tiny concessions, 1,000,000 unspoken agreements to external dictates, slowly dim its luster. The weight of societal expectations, the siren song of validation, the fear of standing alone, each a thread in the intricate tapestry of relinquishment. The mystery, then, is not merely how to reclaim this crown, but why it was ever set aside. What forces, seen and unseen, have conspired to dim this inner light, to veil this inherent majesty? Why do so many carry the quiet burden of a life lived by proxy, their vast inner kingdoms left untended, their thrones cold and empty? The quest to reclaim personal sovereignty is a sacred journey back to the potent authority of the self. It is the courageous act of remembering that you were born to wear your own crown for all time. The question lingers, a shimmering enigma. How does one recover what was never truly absent, yet feels so profoundly lost? The path from inherent sovereignty to quiet resignation is paved with whispers, subtle shifts, and the slow erosion of self. It begins in the dawn of conscious awareness, when the pristine inner kingdom first encounters the sprawling, boisterous realm of the external world. Picture a vast, still lake, mirroring the boundless sky with perfect clarity, suddenly rippled by a single dropped pebble. That pebble is the first external judgment, the first expectation cast upon the unformed self. The crown is not seized, but rather gently, almost imperceptibly, set aside. It is an act born not of malice, but often of a yearning for belonging, a deep-seated human need for connection that can be skillfully manipulated. The forces at play are manifold, a confluence of societal pressures, cultural narratives, and the very architecture of human psychology. Consider the intricate web of inherited beliefs spun generation after generation, dictating not just how one should act, but how one should be. These are the unseen architects, shaping the very air we breathe. From childhood, the individual is bombarded with directives. Conform, comply, achieve, please. The siren song of validation becomes an intoxicating melody, promising acceptance and love in exchange for authenticity. Each time a choice is made to appease another, to fit a mold, to dim one's own light for the comfort of the collective, a single jewel from the crown of personal sovereignty is momentarily misplaced. These are the concessions, small and seemingly insignificant, that accumulate over years, like dust settling on a once gleaming throne. The fear of standing alone, a primal tremor in the human spirit, is perhaps the most potent architect of relinquishment. To stand alone by societal decree can often mean to stand outside the warmth of the tribe, exposed to the harsh winds of judgment and isolation. The perceived cost of self-expression can feel insurmountably high when weighed against the deep human desire for acceptance. So many choose the familiar path, the well-worn road, even if it leads away from their own inner truth. They build elaborate masks, intricate disguises, woven from expectation and superficial acclaim, believing these fabricated faces will secure their place. Yet, this path, however outwardly successful, leaves the inner kingdom untended. The vast inner landscapes meant for exploration and cultivation become overgrown with doubt and disuse. The vibrant gardens of passion wither, the deep rivers of intuition slow to a trickle, and the majestic mountains of personal conviction are shrouded in a perpetual mist. The throne, meant for a sovereign, grows cold and empty, awaiting its rightful occupant. This is the quiet burden, a pervasive, often unspoken sense of unease that whispers of something profoundly missing, even amidst apparent abundance. The inner light dims not because it is extinguished, but because it is perpetually veiled by the illusion of external necessity. The inherent majesty remains, a shimmering enigma beneath layers of acquired identity, waiting for the courageous act of remembering. The silence of an untended inner kingdom is not truly empty. It is filled with the echoes of what could have been. You feel it, do you not, in the subtle currents of your days? The persistent whisper of unease that no external achievement seems to quiet. The faint ache that lingers even when all around you proclaims abundance. This is not some arbitrary affliction, but a resonant chord struck by a truth long ignored. Consider the moments when the path ahead seems shrouded, not by genuine fog, but by a diffuse uncertainty that permeates your very core. The decisions that feel heavy, not with consequence, but with a profound lack of inner guidance. That sensation of drifting, even when your hands are on the wheel, or the gnawing suspicion that you are merely playing a part in a script written by others. These are not failures of effort, but symptoms of a deeper disquiet. The vibrant gardens of passion, once envisioned, now lie fallow beneath the weight of perceived obligations and the clamor of external voices. The deep rivers of intuition, meant to guide your every passage, now flow as hesitant trickles, their wisdom drowned out by the constant torrent of information from without. And the majestic mountains of personal conviction, those unyielding peaks that define your very being, are often veiled, not by natural mist, but by the accumulated dust of forgotten purpose. The throne, meant for your sovereign presence, sits cold and empty. This emptiness you sense, this pervasive unspoken longing, is not for something new to acquire, but for something ancient to reclaim. It is the deep recognition that the inner light, though never truly extinguished, has been perpetually obscured. It is veiled by the illusion that your worth, your direction, your very identity must be granted, validated, or defined by the world beyond your skin. The revelation dawns, not as a sudden flash, but as a slow, deliberate unfolding. It is the quiet awakening to the reality that the dis-ease you experience, the subtle void you carry, is the direct consequence of abdicating your inner throne. It is the dawning understanding that the solutions you seek, the peace you crave, the authentic power you long for, are not found in the acquisition of more, but in the remembering of who you inherently are. Your inherent majesty has been a shimmering enigma, patiently waiting beneath layers of acquired identity for the courageous act of remembering. This is the truth that stirs within, a profound connection to the neglected sovereignty that resides always at your core. It is the call to re-enter your own kingdom, to tend to its neglected landscapes, and to reclaim the crown that has always been yours. And so, the quiet journey through the neglected chambers of the self culminates not in a discovery of something new, but in the profound remembering of what has always been. The veil, woven by the illusion of external needs and the cacophony of others' expectations, begins to thin. You begin to perceive the shimmering truth that the unease, the subtle, gnawing void within, was never a deficit of being. It was the whisper of a vacant throne, an echo of a kingdom left untended. The dis-ease was the soul's lament, a gentle protest against the abdication of an inherent birthright. It was the consequence of seeking the crown in external validations, in the fleeting applause of the crowd, rather than recognizing its perpetual presence upon your own brow. For true peace, authentic power, and the profound knowing of self were never commodities to be acquired from the outer world. They were, and remain, the very essence of your inner realm. Consider the inner landscape, once shadowed by the long-forgotten truth of your own sovereignty. Picture the throne, perhaps dusty, draped in the cobwebs of distraction and self-doubt. Yet it stood, patiently, enduring, waiting for the courageous act of turning inward, for the steadfast gaze that would pierce through the accumulated layers of acquired identity. This is not a journey to become, but a journey to unbecome, to shed the false skin and reveal the radiant majesty beneath. The solutions you sought, the tranquility you craved, the authentic power that seemed just beyond reach, have been residing within the very architecture of your being all along. They are not found in the endless pursuit of more, but in the profound acceptance of enough, of whole, of self. The inherent majesty, a brilliant gem hidden beneath the sediment of 1,000 external demands, now begins to gleam with an undeniable light. This is the profound revelation, a quiet thunder within the soul. The crown was never lost. It was simply placed aside, its brilliance dimmed by the forgetfulness of self. To reclaim it is not an act of aggression, but an act of gentle, resolute remembrance. It is the conscious choice to re-enter your own sacred kingdom, to walk its hallowed grounds with intention, to tend to its landscapes, and to allow the authentic current of your true self to flow unimpeded. The resonance of this truth stirs deeply. It is a profound connection to the neglected sovereignty that resides, immutable and eternal, at your very core. This is not a fleeting concept, but an enduring reality, the bedrock of your existence. And as this understanding settles deep within the marrow of your being, a new dawn breaks over the horizon of your inner world. The next path unfolds, not as a search, but as an unfolding of inherent purpose. For to reclaim the crown is only the beginning. To wear it with wisdom and grace is the profound journey that now awaits. Chapter 11. The Silent Rebellion, a declaration of selfhood. The resonance of a truth reclaimed, the bedrock of existence, now stirs deep within the marrow of being. A new dawn has indeed broken over the horizon of the inner world. The crown of personal sovereignty, once lost in the forgotten annals of the self, now rests with purpose upon the awakened brow. Its weight, however, is not merely that of regality, but the profound gravity of a world that hums with a different song, a different rhythm, subtly urging conformity to its pervasive chorus. Consider the hidden spring, its waters pure and luminous, having finally surged forth from the deepest chambers of the earth. It flows unimpeded, a mirror reflecting the unblemished sky, a symbol of your authentic current. Yet just beyond its hallowed source, the vast river of collective consciousness stretches, wide and churning, its currents shaped by millennia of compromise, expectation, and unspoken rule. This river, with its compelling force, often seeks to absorb every singular stream into its grand, often turbulent flow. You have walked the sacred grounds of your own dominion, tending to its landscapes with intention, allowing the authentic current of your true self to emerge, unimpeded. But the pervasive currents of the outer world are subtle architects of doubt, insidious in their reach. They do not rage with open hostility, but rather seep into the very foundations of perception, whispering narratives of what is acceptable, what is desirable, what is normal. They invite a gentle bending of the spirit, a subtle dulling of the inner light, suggesting that true belonging often lies in the quiet shedding of one's most potent individuality. This is the profound, quiet dilemma that now emerges. To reclaim the crown was an act of profound remembrance, a turning inward to your sacred kingdom. To wear it with wisdom and grace necessitates a turning outward, yet without succumbing to the external tides that threaten to obscure your authentic gleam. How does one maintain the sacred integrity of an authentic flow when confronted by the persistent, almost invisible pull towards dilution? How does one honor the vibrant hue of a singular truth when the world seems to demand a softer, more blended shade, a palatable conformity? Here, in this crucible of authenticity, the silent rebellion takes root. It is not an uprising of banners and battle cries, nor a revolution shouted from the rooftops. Instead, it is an internal steadfastness, a profound declaration whispered first to the very core of one's being, then lived into existence. It is the audacious, continuous choice to remain undivided, to let the unique current of the self continue its unhindered journey, charting a path that may diverge from every established waterway. This is the enduring mystery, the courageous act of holding fast to the sovereign self, in a world that thrives on the subtle erosion of personal borders, even when that act of selfhood feels like an untold defiance. The world indeed weaves its insidious spell, not through overt decree, but through the gentle insistence of a million tiny threads. It seeks to blend, to dilute, to soften the sharp, singular edges of existence into a more universally palatable hue. This is the truth often overlooked, the silent force that attempts to remold the very clay of being. The crucible of authenticity, therefore, is not a place of violent forging, but one of resolute stillness, where the heat of external expectation meets the cool, unwavering resolve of the interior spirit. Imagine the pervasive mist that rises with the dawn, not threatening but simply present, seeking to permeate every surface, to obscure every distinct outline. So too does the world's desire for conformity operate. It is in the collective sigh of approval for the common path, in the subtle exclusion of the unconventional, in the unspoken dread of being deemed other. This pressure is a constant, almost imperceptible current, always nudging, always whispering for the self to surrender its unique flow, to merge with the broader, less turbulent stream. Yet within the deepest chambers of consciousness, where the soul's original blueprint remains pristine, the silent rebellion finds its fertile ground. It is a declaration made not with the clang of cymbals, but with the quiet, unwavering beat of a heart that refuses to mimic another's rhythm. The profound selfhood, once acknowledged, demands its own symphony, its own cadence. To remain undivided is to commit to the daunting task of integrating every facet of one's being, even those deemed inconvenient or unmarketable by the external gaze. It is to embrace the shadows that cling to one's light, the eccentricities that define one's contours, the vulnerabilities that expose one's truth. This is the continuous, audacious choice, to not fragment the self into digestible parts offered up to appease the varied appetites of the world, but to stand whole, uncompromised, utterly authentic. The journey of the unique current is inherently solitary, a path carved not by maps drawn by others, but by the magnetic pull of an inner compass. It may diverge from every established waterway, indeed it must. For true authenticity is not merely an alternative route, but an entirely different river, flowing with its own velocity towards its own uncharted ocean. This act of self-charting, though often unseen by the masses, is the true seat of personal sovereignty. It is a rebellion against the subtle erosion of personal borders, a refusal to allow the societal tide to wash away the singular sand formations that make up one's identity. The world, in its ceaseless quest for order and predictable patterns, often seeks to smooth these formations, to flatten the peaks and fill the valleys of individual character. But the sovereign self stands firm, like an ancient, gnarled tree rooted on a windswept cliff edge, its very defiance etched into its steadfast branches. The commitment to one's own truth, even when it feels like an untold defiance, is the very essence of this rebellion. It is not an act of aggression, but one of profound self-preservation, a quiet, insistent reassertion of intrinsic value, for to lose the singular current is to lose the very wellspring of one's power, to diminish the unique song that only that soul can sing. And in the preservation of that song, despite the world's muted chorus, lies the deepest resonance of existence. The world, in its vast and intricate tapestry, constantly weaves threads of expectation and consensus. It is a subtle, insistent hum, a collective murmur that seeks to guide every wandering soul back to the common path, to the well-trodden ways of least resistance. This silent persuasion, often cloaked in the guise of reason or necessity, whispers of comfort in uniformity, of safety in anonymity. It proposes a life streamlined, where the sharp edges of individuality are softened, where the vibrant hues of personal truth are muted into a more agreeable shade. Yet, within each being, a different impulse stirs, a unique frequency vibrates, echoing the ancient tree's steadfast defiance. This is the truth of your own being, a deeply personal resonance that refuses to be entirely absorbed into the prevailing current. You feel it in the quiet moments, when the world's clamor subsides and the authentic self breathes. Perhaps it manifests as a stubborn inclination towards a particular dream, one deemed impractical by the cautious voices around you. It could be an unyielding conviction about a principle, even when it means standing alone against a tide of popular opinion. Or it might be the simple, profound knowing that a certain path, though unconventional, is the only true course for your spirit. This is where the silent rebellion begins, not in grand pronouncements or overt acts of defiance, but in the intimate theatre of your own consciousness. It is the conscious refusal to let the outer world dictate the inner landscape. It is the steady hand that turns the rudder of your being, not towards the easiest port, but towards the compass point of your deepest truth. Consider the sculptor who sees not a block of marble, but the form already residing within, waiting to be liberated. So too the sovereign self perceives its own intrinsic design and gently, persistently, carves away the accretions of external influence. Every choice, however small, becomes a brushstroke in this declaration of selfhood. The decision to pursue a passion despite its lack of immediate tangible reward. The courage to speak a truth, not out of aggression, but from a profound need for authenticity. The quiet strength to walk away from paths that offer comfort but demand compromise of the soul. These are not acts of war but of preservation, akin to a gardener diligently tending a rare bloom, shielding it from frost, nourishing it with care so its unique fragrance can fully unfurl. This rebellion is silent because its loudest manifestations are often internal, shaping the very core of who you are, making you more resilient, more congruent. It is felt in the unwavering gaze when confronted with skepticism, in the serene certainty that accompanies a conviction deeply held. It is the steady heartbeat of a life lived from the inside out, rather than assembled from external expectations. And in this steadfast commitment to your singular current, you do not diminish the world, but rather enrich it. For it is through the full, vibrant expression of each unique song that the grand symphony of existence truly finds its profound and resonant harmony. The integrity of your own truth becomes a beacon, not just for yourself, but for others yearning to find the courage to let their own unique light shine. This is the silent power, the quiet revolution, unfolding within each moment, affirming that the most profound freedom lies in the unwavering embrace of one's authentic self. And so the quiet revolution breathes. What was once perceived as a solitary whisper, a lone, flickering lamp against the encroaching night, reveals itself now as the very pulse of existence, a fundamental chord within the universe's grand composition. The silent rebellion is not merely an act of defiance, but a profound act of affirmation, a sacred oath sworn in the deepest chambers of the heart. It is the unwavering decision to allow the wellspring of your unique essence to flow unimpeded, to carve its own path through the landscape of the world, rather than to be channeled into preordained conduits. This is the revelation, that the truest power lies not in the clamor of external conquest, but in the steadfast integrity of one's inner terrain. A life lived authentically from the core of its being becomes a vibrational offering to the whole, a resonant frequency that subtly alters the very fabric of reality. Imagine 1,000 lighthouses, each distinct in its beam, yet collectively illuminating an ocean that once knew only shadows. Each soul, by daring to shine its inherent light, expands the collective consciousness, forging pathways where none existed, weaving a tapestry of vibrant, uncompromised truths. The perceived skepticism from the outer world dissipates like mist before the morning sun, not because it is refuted by argument, but because it is rendered irrelevant by the sheer, undeniable presence of a conviction deeply held. There is an invincible grace that accompanies this commitment, a quiet dignity that transcends transient judgments. It is the wisdom of the ancient oak, unmoved by the shifting winds, its roots reaching ever deeper into the earth, its branches reaching ever higher towards the heavens. This is not an end, but a magnificent beginning. The declaration of selfhood is but the first stroke upon a canvas vast and boundless. Having found the compass point within, the journey now unfurls with an entirely new dimension. For to truly embody this sovereign truth is to step into a perpetual state of becoming, to understand that the deepest harmony emerges not from uniformity, but from the fearless symphony of countless unique melodies, each playing its part with unparalleled authenticity. The path ahead invites a deeper exploration of this newly claimed freedom, a sustained engagement with the profound responsibility and boundless potential that such self-sovereignty unlocks. Chapter 12. Weaving solitude into the tapestry of existence. The declaration of selfhood, a resonant truth echoing from the deepest core, was but the first vibrant breath. With the inner compass now unwavering, pointing always to the authentic north, the vast expanse of existence unfurled, no longer a daunting labyrinth, but a realm of boundless potential. Yet, as the sovereign truth took root, a curious paradox began to stir within the quietude of this newfound freedom. For to truly understand the singular note one was destined to play in the grand symphony often demanded a retreat from the orchestra itself. This was not the shadow of loneliness, a desolate absence, but something far more profound, a deliberate embrace of solitude, a conscious turning inward, like a river seeking its hidden spring before it could rush forth to join the mighty current. It was in this hallowed chamber of the self, away from the clamor and the expectations of the collective, that the nascent self could truly ripen, its colors deepen, its unique contours sharpen, unmarred by external distortion. But herein lay the whispered question, the silent enigma that now unfurled before the awakening gaze. If the journey of selfhood led so often to these solitary shores, how then was one to weave this deeply personal, intensely singular thread into the vibrant, intricate tapestry of shared existence? Was this necessary withdrawal a severing from the whole, or a profound strengthening of the individual thread? Did the deliberate act of being alone in one's truth ultimately lead to isolation, or did it forge a being so profoundly whole, so utterly authentic, that its eventual return to the collective imbued the entire fabric with an unparalleled richness and strength? This was the unfolding mystery, the profound inquiry into the very nature of belonging and being. The challenge was not merely to endure solitude, but to master it, to transform its seemingly empty spaces into the very loom upon which the most exquisite patterns of connection could be woven. The silent chambers of self, often mistaken for barren voids, are in truth the crucibles where being's essence is forged. One enters these spaces not to flee the world, but to find the self, unburdened by external echoes, unswayed by collective currents. Here, beneath quietude's weight, borrowed identity peels away, like ancient bark revealing vibrant, living wood. This stripping is not diminishment, but unveiling. It is the arduous journey inward, a descent into one's truth, where waters run clear and undefiled. From this depth emerges a singular, unmistakable resonance, the authentic voice, the unique hue, the sturdy fiber that, pulled taut, does not fray. Imagine metal drawn from earth, subjected to intense heat and hammer blows, purified, strengthened, its structure rearranged into unbreakable integrity. So too the spirit in its solitude. It is tempered not by isolation, but by its own inner sun's relentless gaze, burning away dross, leaving a resilient core. This tempered thread, vibrant and true, is then prepared for weaving. Here, solitude's paradox reveals its grand design. A thread ignorant of its own strength, color, or texture cannot truly contribute. It would merely blend, dissolve, losing distinctiveness within the crowded weave. But the thread refined by solitude, sturdy and luminous, holds its form. It possesses inherent integrity, interweaving without loss, enhancing the whole precisely by remaining profoundly itself. The empty spaces then are not gaps, but the loom's very structure, the necessary tension and void allowing pattern to emerge. Without deliberate withdrawal, without mastery of these silent interludes, connections would be thin, born of need rather than wholeness, susceptible to unraveling. True belonging does not demand absorption, it invites contribution. It yearns for vibrant authenticity, which only seasoned solitude can cultivate. Thus, the journey into self, far from severing one from the whole, prepares that unique fiber to bind with unparalleled strength. It transforms potential isolation into profound connections wellspring, ensuring each return to the collective enriches the entire fabric, imbuing it with deep hues and enduring patterns of a spirit profoundly known and genuinely lived. The solitary path is not an ending, but a necessary passage, a sacred pilgrimage toward richer, more meaningful communion. It is the deep breath taken before the grand song is sung. Behold, the silent alchemy at work within the marrow of your own being, a truth whispered not through grand proclamations, but through the quiet revolution of your breath, the steady rhythm of your heart. It is a revelation unfolding not in distant realms, but in the very fabric of your daily existence, in the spaces between the clamor and the rush. Consider the moments when the world recedes, when the endless demands of the outer sphere soften into a distant hum. Perhaps it is in the soft dawn, watching the first light paint the sky, or in the deep stillness of night, beneath a canopy of indifferent stars. These are not voids to be filled, but sacred amphitheaters where the profound drama of self-discovery plays out. In these hallowed interludes, you are not absent from the world. You are, in truth, becoming more profoundly present to it. For this chosen solitude is not an escape from responsibility, but a deeper plunge into it, a recalibration of the inner compass. It is the careful tending of that unique fiber which, when returned to the collective tapestry, will lend its strength without compromise, its vibrant hue without fading. Think of the mighty river that carves its own course, seemingly alone, yet its journey nourishes countless ecosystems, its waters eventually returning to the boundless sea, enriched and resolute. Your individual voyage into selfhood mirrors this majestic flow. The profound connections you yearn for, the true belonging that transcends mere proximity, does not originate from a frantic outward search. It springs, instead, from an unshakable inner knowing, cultivated in the fertile soil of quiet introspection. How often have you felt the subtle dissonance when your outer demeanor belies your inner state, a fragile bridge built on assumption rather than authentic foundation? Solitude dismantles these superficial structures, revealing the bedrock of your genuine self. It invites you to discern the difference between the noise that demands your attention and the quiet wisdom that deserves your reverence. This is the genesis of your invaluable contribution, the wellspring from which your most meaningful offerings will flow. For how can one truly give of themselves if they have not first deeply known themselves? How can one truly connect if the self they present is merely a reflection of expectation, a shadow rather than the substance? The patterns you weave into the communal fabric, the deep hues you impart, are not born of conformity, but of a spirit profoundly known and genuinely lived. It is the quiet strength forged when you learn to sit with your own presence, to listen to the murmurs of your own soul, to embrace the landscape of your own inner world without judgment or distraction. This interior journey is not an ending, but the sacred passage toward a richer, more meaningful communion. The profound breath taken before the grandest song of your existence can truly be sung, not just heard, but felt, resonating through the entire symphony of humanity. And so, the quiet strength, once a whisper in the heart's hidden chambers, now begins its slow, deliberate ascent, like a magnificent sun rising within the soul. It is the bloom of a flower long nurtured in the shade, now turning its face to the light, not seeking validation, but radiating its own inherent brilliance, a self-lit lamp in the vastness. This solitude, once perceived as an absence, as a void that beckoned loneliness, reveals itself as the most profound presence, a sacred crucible where the self is not merely found, but forged, stripped of borrowed raiments, and adorned with the unblemished truth of its own being, shining with unassailable luminescence. The fear of isolation, that ancient spectre haunting countless hearts, dissolves into an understanding of sovereign independence, a liberating freedom. For how can one truly be alone when one is perpetually in communion with the deepest currents of their own consciousness, a boundless ocean within, an entire cosmos unfolding? This interior journey is not merely an act of knowing, but a continuous process of becoming, an unveiling where the authentic essence, unburdened by the scrutinizing gaze of the world, begins to sculpt its destiny from the inside out, guided by an inner compass, true and unwavering. It is the monumental shift from existing as a reflection to embodying pure substance, from echo to original sound. Imagine the great river, having navigated its tortuous solitary path through the deepest gorges and over the highest plateaus, its waters gathering wisdom from every stone and sediment on its private journey. It emerges onto the wide, fertile plain, no longer questioning its direction, nor doubting its immense power. Its flow is certain, its purpose clear, its abundance ready to nourish all it touches. This is the quality of connection that now awaits, a bond forged not from need or from emptiness, from a desire to fill a lack, but from an overflowing abundance of self-possession, a wellspring never dry. The patterns one now weaves into the larger tapestry of existence are no longer faint, erased echoes, but vibrant, indelible strokes, each thread infused with the luminous clarity of a spirit genuinely understood, deeply loved and courageously embraced. The tapestry itself transforms, its colors deepening, its texture enriched by this unassailable authenticity, a testament to a soul come into its own. The grandest song of existence, long prepared in the sacred silence, now stirs, vibrating with anticipated majesty. Its first notes are not tentative, but resonate with the settled authority of one who has intimately mastered their own instrument, whose being is now in perfect tune. This deep knowing, this intimate companionship with the self, is not an end in itself, but the magnificent beginning, the inauguration. It is the solid ground upon which the most meaningful structures of shared life can be built, the unshakable foundation from which the truest expressions of love, of purpose, and of collective humanity can emerge, not as fragile hopes or fleeting aspirations, but as enduring realities. The landscape of the inner world, once a private sanctuary, now becomes the inexhaustible wellspring from which all true engagement with the outer world flows, pure, potent, limitless. A new dawn breaks, promising not just light, but revelation, illuminating the path forward, inviting a profound, resonant participation in the symphony of shared being, a participation no longer sought from without, but given from within, freely, without reservation, shaping the very fabric of tomorrow. Chapter 13. The ever-resonant symphony of the mastered self. The solid ground of self, forged in the crucible of solitude, now hums with a silent, potent energy, a deep thrumming that promises more than mere stillness. From its sacred depths, a new rhythm emerges, not merely whispered on the wind, but resonant, poised to become an anthem. The inner landscape, once a sanctuary for quiet contemplation and the meticulous laying of foundations, transforms. It becomes a vibrant concert hall, its very architecture designed for a singular, magnificent performance, the ever-resonant symphony of the mastered self. This is not merely the cessation of discord, the absence of inner static. It is the active, deliberate creation of an enduring harmony, a profound and continuous emanation that colors every breath, every choice, every interaction, shaping the very air around it into an intricate, beautiful tapestry of sound. Yet, at the precipice of such an audacious declaration, a profound mystery unfolds, a question that reverberates through the very chambers of being, demanding an answer that defies simple formulation. For what is this symphony truly? Is it a static perfection, a final, unyielding composition etched into the soul like an ancient, timeless score? Or is it a living, breathing crescendo, forever adapting, forever expanding, yet never losing its core vibration, an organic melody evolving with the very pulse of existence? And what then of mastery itself, the very act of conducting this internal orchestra? Is it found in the iron grip of control, commanding every note, every tempo with absolute dominion, ensuring no stray chord disrupts the intended arrangement? Or does it reside in a delicate surrender, an attunement to a deeper cosmic rhythm, allowing the music to play itself through an unburdened vessel where the conductor is merely the conduit? The world outside, a sprawling tapestry woven with unpredictable threads of chaos and fleeting beauty, constantly challenges the integrity of this inner orchestra, threatening to drown out its delicate pitch. Can such a refined, ever-resonant frequency sustain itself against the blare of external demands, the discordant cries of circumstance, the subtle, insidious whispers of doubt that seek to fray the very threads of self? Does the mastered self stand as an impervious fortress, its walls deflecting every external vibration, preserving its purity in isolation? Or does it integrate, absorb and transmute the world's incessant clamor, weaving it into an even richer, more complex arrangement without losing its own authentic foundational note? This is the profound paradox that now beckons, demanding clarity. To be an unshakable source of harmony while participating fully in a world perpetually in flux. To conduct an eternal song, an unending stream of inner melody, while navigating the fleeting, transient moments of existence. The nature of this resonance, its origin, its endurance across the shifting sands of time, its true reach, its ultimate purpose. These are the profound inquiries that now beckon, drawing the seeker into the very heart of their own unfolding, magnificent melody, to discern if its echoes truly are infinite, and if its source truly is inexhaustible. What is this resonance, this profound inner melody that persists despite the cacophony of passing moments? It is not merely a reaction to joy, nor a defiant stand against sorrow. Rather, it is an emanating truth, a fundamental vibration stemming from the deepest core of being, untouched by the transient forms it inhabits. Imagine a mighty river, its surface roiling with the storms of the season, its currents twisting and turning with the terrain. Yet, far beneath, an ancient, powerful flow persists, immutable, carving its path through eternity, indifferent to the momentary turbulence above. This is the nature of the mastered self-symphony, a constant, unwavering current of authentic selfhood beneath the fluctuating surface of daily experience. Its genesis lies not in external validation, nor in the fleeting accumulation of worldly treasures. It is born of a profound self-recognition, an awakening to the intrinsic divinity within, a blueprint of pure potentiality that existed even before the first breath was drawn. This is the fount from which the inexhaustible harmony springs, a wellspring of quiet, potent energy that continually replenishes itself from unseen depths, a cosmic hum inherent to the fabric of awareness. And how does it endure across the shifting sands of time, against the relentless erosion of change? Because it is rooted not in the ephemeral, but in the eternal. It is the deep, unseen root system of a venerable tree, drawing sustenance from the bedrock of existence itself, allowing the branches to sway and bend with every gale, yet never toppling. It is the unyielding beacon of a lighthouse, its beam cutting through the densest fog and the most violent tempest, unwavering in its fidelity to truth. This inner cadence is not dependent on external conditions. It is a self-sustaining resonance, a continuous unfolding of one's essential nature, impervious to the tides of fortune or despair. The reach of this symphony extends far beyond the individual heart. A single, pure note struck in the silence of a vast hall can set the very air trembling, creating sympathetic vibrations in every corner, influencing the collective without a single spoken word. So too, the harmonious resonance of the mastered self subtly recalibrates the vibrational field around it, inviting calm amidst chaos, clarity where there was confusion. Its ultimate purpose is not merely personal peace, but to serve as a beacon, a living testament to the possibility of unwavering harmony within a world perpetually in flux. It is a quiet call, an invitation to others to attune to their own authentic note, to join in the grand unspoken orchestration of collective consciousness. It is the art of living as a conductor of an infinite melody, not only playing one's own part flawlessly, but inspiring the entire orchestra of life to find its perfect pitch, to remember its own inherent song. Thus, the echoes of this symphony are indeed infinite, rippling outwards through unseen channels, touching lives in ways that defy measurement. And its source is inexhaustible, for it draws not from finite resources, but from the boundless reservoir of an awakened true self, a boundless wellspring that grows deeper and more vibrant with every act of conscious alignment, every moment of genuine presence, every note truly lived and embodied. The unseen threads woven into the very fabric of existence, they are not mere ethereal fancy, dismissed as whispers. They are the tangible expressions of every choice, every thought, every vibration you offer the world. Consider the quiet moment when a word of genuine kindness shifts the trajectory of another's day, like a gentle breeze guiding a distant ship. Or observe the resolute calm radiating from one who stands unbowed amidst chaos, their presence becoming an unspoken anchor for all who perceive their steady light. This is not magic, but the pure mechanics of the symphony, its laws as immutable as gravity itself. Each individual is a unique instrument in this vast cosmic orchestra. Do you not instinctively feel the subtle discord when a note is struck false, when a spirit is out of tune with its deeper truth? And conversely, the profound harmony that settles upon a space like a balm, when authenticity rings clear. This energetic connection, this resonance, is not reserved for the few. It is the birthright of every sentient being. The invitation, therefore, is not to a distant shore, but to the core of your present reality, to the immediate canvas of your daily life. It is an awakening to the conductor within, a reclaiming of the sacred baton that governs your life's unfolding melody. For every breath drawn in conscious awareness, for every decision made in alignment with your truest self, you are not merely playing a note, you are shaping the very air around you, influencing the unseen currents that flow between all things. Imagine a single lighthouse, its unwavering beam cutting through the darkest storm. It does not speak, yet its message is unequivocally clear. Guidance, safety, steadfastness. Your mastered self, when its symphony resonates truly, becomes just such a beacon. It draws not by force, but by magnetic alignment, a silent call that penetrates the deepest parts of others. Those adrift in fragmented melodies are drawn irrevocably to the coherence, the undeniable truth, the profound harmony of a life lived in its authentic rhythm. This is no abstract construct, meant only for contemplation. This is the very ground beneath your feet, the tangible substance of your interactions. Feel the pulse of your own being. Does it quicken with unmistakable joy when purpose is found? Does it falter with unsettling doubt when integrity is compromised? These are your subtle cues, your internal tuning forks, guiding you towards your most authentic pitch, your purest tone. The symphony of the self is not a grand, unattainable performance on a distant stage. It is the quiet, persistent hum of coherence in your daily interactions, the silent strength in your presence, the unwavering truth in your gaze, a melody woven into the mundane. It manifests in boundless patience extended to a struggling soul, in the courage to speak your truth when silence seems easier, in the grace to forgive, the wisdom to let go. These are the individual notes, played with deliberate intent and precise clarity, that build the profound, undeniable symphony of your existence. And its resonance, though often invisible, is the most potent force for transformation, not only within your own boundless sphere, but across the entire intricate tapestry of shared existence, echoing through eternity. The symphony, once truly embraced, does not merely conclude with the final resonant chord. Its melody, woven with the threads of genuine intent and unwavering truth, lingers like a hallowed mist long after the performance ceases. Each note of boundless patience, every courageous word spoken, the grace in forgiveness, the wisdom in release, these are not transient sounds. They are vibrations etched into the very fabric of existence, unseen currents that alter the prevailing winds. Consider the solitary lighthouse, its beam cutting through the profound darkness of a tempestuous night. It does not demand attention, it simply is, a steadfast beacon of orientation. Its light does not touch every ship, yet its mere presence redefines the maritime landscape for all who navigate those perilous waters. So too is the mastered self. Its truth, its clarity, its harmonious emanation stands as a quiet testament, radiating an energy that subtly calibrates the world around it. It is the anchor in the storm, the steady pulse in a chaotic rhythm. This resonance, though often felt more than seen, is a profound declaration. It speaks without words, guiding without command. It touches the periphery of countless lives, a silent invitation to coherence, a whisper of possibility. A soul entangled in its own dissonance might, for a fleeting moment, catch this harmonious wave and feel a flicker of understanding, a yearning for equilibrium. This is the subtle magic, the grand design. Your personal masterpiece becomes a tuning fork for the collective unconscious, offering a pitch of purity amidst the cacophony. And as this intricate tapestry of shared existence receives these subtle yet potent infusions of harmony, it begins a slow, inevitable transformation. The individual notes of your symphony, played with deliberate intent and precise clarity, merge into a grander cosmic overture. They become foundational whispers that shape the very air we breathe, the ground we walk upon, the shared dreams that stir beneath the surface of reality. Thus, the echo through eternity is not a distant faint sound, but a perpetual shaping force, preparing the way for revelations yet to unfold, for the unveiling of the deepest truths that bind us all. For the symphony of the self is but a single movement in the endless, evolving score of creation. Conclusion: the unseen architects of reality. The world, once perceived as a relentless tide of external demands, now reveals itself as a resonant chamber. The truths unveiled within these pages have shifted the very ground beneath your perception. No longer is reality a chaotic collision of happenstance, but an intricate tapestry subtly woven by the collective unconscious and, more profoundly, by the deliberate intent of the mastered self. The ceaseless cacophony of the ages now reveals its underlying patterns, its moments of harmony and discord, each note a reflection of inner states. You now perceive the silent undercurrents, the foundational frequencies that emanate from those who have dared to forge purity within the crucible of solitude. The grand cosmic overture, once a distant abstraction, now pulses with a tangible resonance, acknowledging your individual symphony as an essential shaping force within its boundless composition. This is the liberation of true sovereignty. You are freed not from the world, but within it. The urgent clamor for external validation, the fear of isolation, the frantic search for a reflection in another's gaze, all have receded. They were but echoes of an unmastered self. Now you stand as the conductor of your own internal orchestra, each note played with exquisite clarity and purpose. Your presence becomes a quiet yet potent infusion of harmony into the shared existence, a deliberate whisper amidst the collective roar. This mastery allows you to move through the intricate dance of life with an unshakable grace, contributing your unique, pure tone to the evolving score of creation, an unseen architect of the shared dream. The silence always knew.